baby!
And Flyer.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program?
Yeah. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
Now, live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
Friday edition of the Sports Bash, live 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. You out there, happy hour Friday. Josh, I got some picks for the people today. I look forward. I want to get some good recommendations for the weekend. It's a fun weekend, a lot of good concerts in town. The summer's winding down. We've got Eagles training camp. You know, LeBron James plays for the Sixers, and the Phillies have made some news today. It looks like Andrew Painter is going to be back and pitching with the Phillies down in Baltimore. Charm City is the place, and the Phillies will go with Andrew Painter tonight. That is not official, but it's official. It's been reported by Jim Salisbury and some others that Painter will be back. And listen, I'm not a huge fan of this, but I don't have another move for them. They don't have another pitcher in the organization who's ready to pitch at the big league level. I think they're rushing Painter back a little bit. He's pitched okay in his last two starts. I'm not overly excited about this. And you guys know this, that I was a big Painter fan. I thought Painter would make a big impact on this team. It has not worked out. I would say that Andrew Painter has disappointed me, but I'm hopeful that he can rebound and make a recovery. I just don't think it's right now. Is he better than Brian Keller? Is he better than who was the other guy who pitched some games?
Alan Hongel.
Ellen Rangel, right? I forgot him already. He was not very memorable. Is he better than those two guys? You better damn hope he is. But is now the time? I don't know. Does this move reek of desperation, or do they think he's really ready to come back up? I think that's one of the things I'm trying to come to terms with. We're going to talk to Oscar for today's Phillies Fastball. We'll have McGarry on. We've got a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat is back. What are your favorite segments, Josh?
Well, it's Old Faithful. That's what it is. It's old trusty faithful. It's old. Hey, you know what you're getting from a Bob and Mike baseball chat, so you know it's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, Bob Wankel's going to join me at 5:00 tonight for a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat. We haven't had one in a couple of weeks here. So Bob was on vacation last week, so we finally hooked up. We'll do that tonight at 5:00. We've got the Friday 5 tonight. What else we got going on? Nuggets. I also look at like the trade deadline, and I know nobody knows what's happening. We're hearing a lot of stuff. Jeff Hoffman and Dalton Varsho is two names from the Blue Jays. I have zero interest in pretty much either one of those guys. Dalton Varsho does nothing for me or this team, I don't think. Are they looking at Dalton Varsho? I thought about this earlier. Are they looking at Dalton Varsho as this year's Harrison Bader? Kind of like a spark plug guy who's maybe not having a great year, but you bring him here and maybe he just fits in and just has a lot more potential. He's kind of like a Bader type of player, right? He's kind of like a guy that is, just work. You see him out there and he's a little undersized. And I just don't find that Varsho helps this team out all that much. I don't know how Jeff Hoffman helps this. Will he make the bullpen better? Sure. You know what he's at. You know where he is in the playoffs. You saw it last year with the Blue Jays. You saw it with the Phillies. He is not a guy that you can depend on and rely on in those big situations. So I don't know what deal or who they would have to give up to get those two players. It better not be Andrew Painter. I think it's my point. I'm not trading Painter for those two guys.
I think that's the key of what you just said right there is that let's hit on that really quick. You said we're not trading Andrew Painter for, and I think that's the key to this conversation. You're not trading one of these guys for some also ran. If you're going to have to give up a Painter, a Gage Wood, an Arun Escobar, you're going to give him up for somebody who's much better than Jeff Hoffman and Dalton Varsho.
Right. If I'm getting Jeff Hoffman and Dalton Varsho, I want my third level of prospect.
Right.
That's, a guy that I don't really believe. What was that thing that Todd Zalecki reported the other day? Like 80% of prospects.
82%.
Never make it.
Right. 82%.
Yeah. I want it to be one of those 82%. Now, of course, you're never hoping that one of your guys that you trade away becomes something good. But I'm just talking about a guy that has no shot. Just, hey, you happen to like this double-A arm here, you can have him, and you'll never see the light of day. Joe Adell's name has come up, and his name has come up for years, mainly because he hits right-handed, and the Angels have been an atrocity. I don't know that he does much more than for this team, other than he's an upgrade over Brian De La Cruz, probably. But where's Joe Adell? Now, Joe Adell probably would come here and hit in the 4th spot, and that would push everybody down a spot. Does that make the lineup better? Yes. World Series better? I don't think so. Probably not. Joe Adell hitting in the number 4 hole for a World Series team.
Listen, if you told me the Phillies came out of this deadline with either Zach Neto or Joe Adell, I would be happy they did something that at least gives you something you don't have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that would be met with. Yeah.
Oh, see, I don't agree at all. I think Adell and Neto are much...
Neto, yes. Neto would be good. I think we're getting overly excited about Neto. Not that I don't like Neto, because of what we currently have.
Yes, but don't you feel like there? You mentioned about how there's tiers to the prospects. Like, you mentioned how John Heyman was the guy who has been pushing out there the Dalton Varsho conversation. We've heard Hoffman for both John Morosi and other people. Like, if you tell me you come out the deadline with Hoffman and Dalton Varsho, then you play that sounder. But if you get Adell and or Neto, then I don't want to say I'm excited, but I'm at least feel like, thank God you did something, Dave.
Okay, that's an interesting point you bring up. Do you want him just to do something to say he did something, even though that's something that's not good enough?
If it's something that makes the team better, is that good enough?
No, that's the problem. It's not good enough just to become better. It's, are you getting to the point where you can not be, you're a good team. You're going to make the playoffs most likely right now. Although that is somewhat in peril, by the way. That's not like a gimme. We're acting like a couple of weeks ago, you say, okay, they were the number 1 wild card team. Then they fell down to the number 2 wild card team. Now you're at the spot where, let's ask this question. Okay. Right now, the Phillies are tied with the Diamondbacks for the number 2 wild card spot. They're 2 ahead of the Padres. They're 2.5 ahead of the Marlins. They're 2.5 ahead of the Pirates. They're 2.5 ahead of the Nationals. They're 3 up on the Cardinals. I don't know that any of those teams are better than you are, but if you stay as constructed, and let's say one of them make a move and you just stay as constructed, or you get a Joe Adell or just a good marginal player, you're probably not catching the Braves. And if you don't catch the Braves, then how do you feel?
Well, you can make the argument that Phillies got to a World Series with a wild card back in 2022. So, I mean, is that coming into the conversation? And maybe it's better that you play well down
real fast.
Yeah.
In 2022, there was no Dodgers.
Right. The Dodgers were not what the team they are now. Correct.
They're not this incarnation of the Dodgers. That Braves team was pretty good, and you beat them. That is fair.
In the postseason,
the Padres, yes, you played the Padres. That team was okay. It wasn't a great, team that you played in the National League Championship Series. So I think the depth of the teams between the Dodgers, the Brewers, and the Braves there are 3 teams currently, and then you could throw the Cubs in there because of their lefties. There are 3 teams that you would, in some configuration, have to go through, and that's going to be a challenge for them.
And that does not include the fact that the latest reports are that the Brewers are trying to get Skubal this weekend,
as are the Dodgers.
So I mean, if Skubal, let's just say he goes, just for example, goes to the Brewers. Well, you know what? Now the Brewers got even more dangerous for you because he's left-handed.
Yeah, how would you like to play the Brewers in a series where you have to face Mizorowski in game 1 and Skubal in game 2, or vice versa?
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. I actually predict, if you ask me, what time is it? 2:11 Friday afternoon. I would say the Brewers end up with Scooble because of the lockout looming next year. This is their chance to say go. And it reminds me of when they went out and got CC Sabathia and they fell short with that. This time around, they're going to take that chance again and say, let's go for it. And next year, we might have to pay the whole season.
Right, exactly. And, the Dodgers are a team that, they don't need Scooble as much as the Brewers do. The Dodgers don't have to go, chips to the middle of the table, right? Where the Brewers can be like, we'll give you all these prospects. Just give us Scooble and whatever else.
It's almost like they're bored, the Dodgers. You know what? Right. We just need another friend. We need another friend to hang out to join this clubhouse. It's getting a little monotonous in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost like the Dodgers don't need Scooble. They just need like a rando to come in there and shake things up.
It's unbelievable what they've built there.
You know who the Dodgers should trade for? They should be the ones who call the Mets about Lindor and be like, hey, what about Lindor? And like he gets to the Dodgers, he's like, you already have a shortstop. We'll figure out when we'll put you on the field. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, Mookie Betts is playing shortstop there, I don't know that they want to move him back to the outfield or something. Who knows? I mean, they're just bored at this stage of the game.
Right.
So Painter is back up, and he'll pitch tonight for the Phils. But I don't know. I was thinking about this too. Let's say Painter comes up here and he pitches pretty well the rest of the way. Let's just throw that out there. Is Andrew Painter or Aaron Nola going to be the guy that pitches those fourth games for you in a playoff situation? Do you feel comfortable with that down the stretch? That's another thing I think Dombrowski has to weigh here, is if we have to play a game 4 and we need a fourth pitcher, am I really going to throw Aaron Nola or Andrew Painter in those games?
That's a huge problem because, a lot of times when you do play in that NLCS you mentioned, let's say you get there, you don't have any confidence. Now, I know Nola has pitched much better the last, few starts, but you can't depend on that in the postseason.
No. And last year, and I asked this question because last year you threw Nola in a playoff game and essentially asked him to get through
2 innings.
Yeah, one time through the lineup. You can't think you're going to be a World Series team and go with that outlook. UPS Jeff checks in, says, Mike, the Phillies could get Ohtani, and they're still not making it. There is a problem internally right now. These guys are playing like they did right before Topper was let go. It's sad watching this much talent looking confused. So he's saying there's an internal problem. And according to some reports, including Matt Gelber, The Athletic, that there is an internal problem. It's between Bryce Harper and Dave Dombrowski. And there was a report that Dombrowski could be extended. How could the Phillies risk extending Dombrowski if, in fact, there's a feud between him and their best player? I don't know how I could see that happen.
Yeah, I don't see a scenario where Dombrowski is going to win the I will outlast you battle with Bryce Harper. I mean, Bryce Harper, whether people like him or not, he's the face of the team, right?
Oh, there's no question. It's him and it's Schwarber. Those are the two guys, but Harper is more of the visible guy. He's the more nationally known guy.
Right.
And he's the one that comes out the other day and says, we need help. And then you can make the argument that did he say that to kind of say, hey, Dombrowski, we need help. You haven't done your job. I would like Harper, don't tiptoe around this one, Bryce. Tell him what you really feel.
Right.
You put a lineup together, Dave, that has Alec Boehm hitting behind me again. You didn't think we were going to come up short? What made you go into a season, Dave, thinking that Alec Boehm hitting behind me was a recipe for success? That's what I would like him to say. Not we need more help.
Well, I think he says we need more help because he's trying to say it nicely, to the media. He doesn't want to get too confrontational. But hey, maybe the answer is Dombrowski needs to get on a flight or a train down to Baltimore. Go into a side room with Harper, and it's Harper and Dombrowski and nobody else, and they just hash it out.
Hey, maybe, but I don't know that it seems that it has gotten to a point where now the manager stepped in and he said what he said, I guess on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And we're still kind of having this conversation that Don Mattingly's like, well, Bryce says that, but not everybody else is saying that. You don't think that other people in that locker room, now maybe they don't because they don't want to be the ones that are traded.
Right. There might be a part of it where some of these guys don't feel they have the the ground to stand on, right? They don't have the standing on the team to speak out, right?
Well, Bryson Stott has no leg to stand on. What's it called? Doesn't have Bohm doesn't have any leg to stand on. Crawford,
I mean, there's four guys. There's four guys on the team who can speak their mind and nothing happens to them. That's pretty much it, right?
Ryan's watching on YouTube. He says, "Who are you trading for that's going to solve all their issues? Don't trade for anyone until you get salary relief after this season." I think Ryan, who's been watching on YouTube, has been a good YouTube chatter for us. I think he's kind of in the position that some people are coming to terms with. They don't want to see them move anybody, get the salary relief, keep your farm system kind of intact here. And then maybe that will help you because many people, Kevin Cooney, one of them, we talked to him on Tuesday for the Cooney Report. He believes 2028, 2029, and beyond, you're going to be a really bad team. How bad are you going? How much worse are you going to be if you, in fact, trade Gage Wood and Andrew Painter and Arun Escobar and anybody else of that ilk?
I would say it depends on what you're getting in return for them. We talked about yesterday about Zach Neto is a guy still in his mid-20s. He is arbitration eligible for the next 3 years. If I'm giving up a Gage Wood or an Andrew Painter and part of the return is Zach Neto, I'm basically swapping out one young guy for another young guy. I think there's a huge difference between giving up one of your prospects for another young guy versus giving him up for a guy in their early to mid 30s. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, any of the names that I've heard so far, Neto would be the one that I think is the most impactful. The question I would have in my mind, do the Phillies really have the cojones to move Trey Turner off the shortstop position? That's probably the one that you need to do, though, right? Is to find a player. I've said before, there is not one player on this roster that should be locked into their position. Not Bryce Harper at first base. If I could go out and get Pete Alonso, I say to Bryce Harper, you're going to play the outfield.
Right.
If I can get Zach Neto, I say to Trey Turner, you're either moving to second or you're moving to the outfield. You can pick.
Right. You can pick which one you want.
Yeah. I just don't want to watch you play shortstop anymore. If I got JT a catcher, I take JT. Sorry, you are now going to have to be the backup catcher. You'll catch 2 to 3 days a week.
By the way, really quick, did you see the report about Hunter Goodman earlier today?
No.
So apparently the Yankees are in hot pursuit of him, but the Rockies are 50-50 if they're even going to trade him at all. So he's a guy the Rockies may go to the deadline, just be like, we're not going to trade him. Never mind. Like talk about a big name just getting ripped off the market potentially.
Yeah. Well, he would be a guy that I probably would be more inclined to get and play at first base, even though I'm all for improving JT Realmuto, who I think they should have ripped the Band-Aid off instead of giving $15 million a year. Because at some point, he's not going to be there to catch for these guys. So At some point, you got to rip that Band-Aid off. It should have been this offseason. They didn't do it, but probably Goodman better served to be your first baseman than your catcher. He's not a good defensive catcher. So that's a possibility.
And by the way, really quick, Goodman is 20. Go ahead.
I would say if I could find someone to play left field and I have to move Brandon Marsh to right field, fine. If I could find someone to play center field and I got to move Justin Crawford to left field, I'm okay with that. I mean, you can't take into consideration, well, I already have a center fielder, so I can't go out and get a center fielder.
Right. You just got to get whoever is a legitimate upgrade for this team right now. And what makes Goodman valuable as well is like Neto. Goodman is 26 years old. He's got 3 more years of team control before he's a free agent. So to me, if you walk out of this deadline with anyone who's in their 20s, I feel a little better about the team moving forward, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, if I could get younger and keep my younger guys, if I walked out of this and somehow got better, and I didn't trade Gage Wood or Painter or Escobar or Renteria
well, that's not going to happen.
Exactly, that's a fairy tale. So again, I go back to I don't see how this works out very well for this organization. You're at the last legs of success. So you either have to try to gobble up that success and bottle it right now, and I don't think that's I would say you have about an 11% chance of winning a World Series, if that might even be high. Let me look at the current. All right, it's 221 on Friday afternoon. What are the DraftKings odds for the Phillies to win the World Series? Like, how are they being viewed by Vegas right now? Let's take a look at this. Right now, for the futures, for the Phillies to win the World Series, the Dodgers are number 1, the Yankees are number 2, the Brewers are number 3, the Braves are number 4, the Rays are number 5, the Cubs are number 6, the Mariners are number 7, and then the Phillies. So you are a long shot at plus 1,700. If you make a deal, where is that number going down to? You're at plus 1,700. Are you going to make a realistic jump up into where the Brewers and Braves are? Probably not. So you're a long shot.
Yeah, and if you go by who's going to win the National League, the Phillies are 5th on that list. So the odds makers believe there are 4 teams that are better than you. So unless you're going to make a move that is going to better the team in a way that's going to compete with those 4 teams, you know who that name is not, Mike? It's not Dalton Varsho. It's not George Springer. And that's why, to me, some of these names are being thrown out there. If the Phillies walk out of this deadline with some of those kind of names, I mean, I am going to basically be like, you know what? Wake me up when September ends.
Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. That was Green Day, by the way, who sung that one.
Yes.
All right. We're live on a Friday edition. We're very busy today. We hope you stick with us throughout the show. We got Phillies fastball. Just Oscar today. Jeff is on assignment. He's got the day off. So Oscar and I will talk about all the Phillies fastball topics here on the Sports Bash. If you have Phillies questions, you want to send to the text board on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. You can check that out and send us some Phillies questions. We'll talk about it during Phillies fastball coming up in just a few moments. Also, at 3 o'clock today, in the 3 o'clock hour today, we're going to talk with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City as we'll get his thoughts on the Phillies and what they could do as they're down in Baltimore tonight. Andrew Painter getting the start. Football at 4. Adam Kaplan with his observations from the first 2 days at Eagles training camp. We got all that and more. Very busy. Happy Hour Friday. Let us know what you're happening on this Happy Hour Friday, 609-403-0973.
We have the Phillies covered.
Swing and a drive, right field, way back, forget it, out of here. Kyle Schwarber hammers one over the right field wall.
Get the best Phillies baseball coverage on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
Tired of car dealer ads with empty promises? Skip the online form to get a real, no-nonsense deal today during Gentilini Ford's summer sales event. Built Ford tough since 1955, we've treated our community like family for over 70 years. It's why we are a 30-time Ford President's Award winner, top 10 in the nation. Ready, set, Ford. Call 609-861-0100 or visit our showroom today at 555 John S. Penn Boulevard next to the airport in Woodbine, New Jersey. We're just a short drive from anywhere.
Family Motors. He's dribbling the ball with everything on the line. He's driving down the pitch. He's facing price hikes and cuts past him. Carrier Contracts tries to block him. Oh, he leaves him in the dust. He's at the edge of the box. He cuts past the nonstop group chat trash talk. He clears on goal. He shoots. Goal! Unlimited data for $25 a month forever!
Visit your local Boost Mobile store today to get unlimited data with a price that never changes. Boost Mobile. After 30 GB, customers may experience lower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost $25 unlimited plan.
That'll be $84.52.
Perfect. Grab the bags, honey.
Mom, why do you always check your phone before we pay?
I'm just claiming my cash back on the Upside app. Since we're getting the groceries here and we filled up the car on the way, I've already earned enough this morning to pay for that pizza night we're having Friday.
Wait, so the app pays for pizza?
Not
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The 2 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman. Call the law offices of Craig A. Altman for a free consultation today. All right, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. 2:30 on a Friday. We got Happy Hour Friday. If you want to send in any of your picks for the weekend, 609-403-0973. This hour of the show brought to you by the law office of Craig A. Altman. On the text board here, a couple Happy Hour Friday. Hot summer days, ice cold, half and half. Twisted teas are delicious. That's a little beach drink for you there, buddy. Must be sitting on the beach on a Friday, having a good old time, getting ready for the weekend. And we're getting ready for the Phillies down in Charm City, where the Phillies take on the Orioles. And, of course, some big news earlier today. Oscar, we talked a little bit about Andrew Painter yesterday. We were wondering, I brought it up, could he be the TBD? Well, asked and answered. He is going to be the TBD. What do you, Oscar, think about this decision to bring him up and pitch against the Orioles?
To be honest with you, if he would be here for the long term, he would not be pitching today, in my view. I think this is a showcase. The possibility of him getting traded, I'm not saying that he's getting traded or not. I think he would be involved in a trade that would be huge. It would need to be a tremendous return for the potential that Andrew Painter represents. I wouldn't trade him. I personally wouldn't trade him. I think he's too talented. He's a young arm. I mean, an arm like that, I would trade everybody else except him and Francisco Renteria. To me, Painter, look, if you have Andrew Painter, Christopher Sanchez, and Luzardo for the next 7-8 years, I mean, it's a tremendous, that's one of the best pitching staff in baseball. So I would not trade him for somebody like Soriano or somebody like that. I would not do it. I just think the upside is too big. Even though Soriano has been pitching really, really well this year, I would not do it.
We look at the trade deadline, and it's like you got to move guys, you got to fix things, you got to do stuff. Do you think some of the reasons why the Phillies, Oscar, have been you've been around, you called games for this team for years. You know what it's like during the trade deadline. I'm sure you've talked to guys and saying, hey, man, how you feeling? And what kind of feedback have you gotten from players this weekend before the deadline?
Look, the Phillies are a different team in the sense that, if you look at the history, they don't trade guys that are in the major leagues. They trade for needs. Last year you saw Bader, you saw Durant. Those two guys that came in and filled tremendous roles. I do expect that you're going to see something like that. Could there be guys like Derek Hill, like Rincones, or even De La Cruz that could be a little bit worried that they might stay or not stay? Absolutely, you'll find the worries there, but not at the upper skeletons. Your core guys. The Schwarbers, the Harpers, even the Alec Bohms and the Stud. Look, to me, Dombrowski is in a crossroads. This is an older team that does not have tremendous depth in terms of talent in the minor league system. And it's a crossroad. What do? Do you go out and trade the Gabe Woods of this world, the McFarlands of this world that are probably the guys that have some value? I'm hearing through the grapevines that there might be some concerns regarding the attitude of Gabe Woods. I've heard about the Gabe Woods attitude for a while. Is that the type of guys that some people have? I do believe that he has closer type mentality. I do believe that, but I think Dombrowski is in a crossroads. It's a very, very difficult job that he's in, and he's going to make moves. That's what he's done before, and in the past, if the past equals what the future is going to be, he's going to trade whomever he needs to trade to make this team better for the run. The question is, are the fixes you're going to do sufficient to do what you need to do? And as I said before many times, I think we needed to win the World Series in 2023. You had the window in 24 and 25, and you were 1 and out. So what is going to be different that is going to make this team not being 1 and out, playing against the Dodgers, the Braves, or the Milwaukee Brewers?
Phillies Fastball, of course, brought to you by Ventnor Social. Stop by Ventnor Social to watch all the Phillies games, including tonight against the Orioles as they take on Baltimore for this weekend. Phillies Fastball, Oscar Budajin is with me. Jeff's on assignment today. So we're going through a lot of the scenarios this weekend. Andrew Painter going to get the start on the mound tonight for the Phillies. And, obviously they just don't have another answer, so they need him. I guess the thing, if you are Dave Dombrowski and you're saying, okay, I need a lot of stuff here, are you watching this game thinking I have either Aaron Nola or Andrew Painter to pitch a playoff game for me?
It's concerning. I mean, I don't think neither of them are ready for prime time yet. I do believe Painter is going to be at some point, but it's going to take some time. And look, to me, when I heard the news that he was pitching, my two thoughts is either he's being showcased or are they evaluating if he could be the fifth starter? And then I thought about it even longer and said, look, they're showcasing him. I mean, that's it. That's a main thing. I mean, they could pitch Kelly today. The other thing is the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen is not a good bullpen. It is a bullpen that is taxed. The question is, are they bringing Painter here because they need 5 innings and he's the best pitcher in the system and they're just going to throw him out there? I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean, you never know. Maybe the Angels said, you know what? I want Painter pitching today because I want to see how he pitches. And then it's part of a bigger deal that they have. I mean, maybe Sagneto comes over. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know people have talked about Abel, and look at the numbers of Abel's. I mean, look at his OPS. It's 693. He strikes out a lot. He has the same profile. This team needs contact hitters. This team doesn't need another home run hitter. They need contact hitters. And I know he's hit 11 home runs against lefties and all of the above. I just don't think he's the type of guy that we need. I want that guy. Look, the other thing is, does he go out and you got a couple more years of control over Stott? I mean, Stott could be in the trading deadline. I mean, trading bite out there. I don't know. But you cannot continue expecting to go further than you've been in the past if you continue to have the same team.
No, and Zach Neto, he leads the American League in strikeouts. The only guy who's struck out more than him in Major League Baseball this year is Kyle Schwarber. So you would have those two guys in your lineup. I like Neto in terms of the power that he brings. He does play shortstop. You need a shortstop. I just don't know if the Phillies have the stones, Oscar, to tell, hey, Trey Turner, we're moving you off shortstop. Do you?
Right now in the short term, I don't think so. I think eventually, after this year, they're going to have to come to hearts and say, you know what, you're the second baseman, or we're going to try you in center field and just move with it. I don't like experiments, particularly with a guy that has been a veteran for over 10 years in Major League Baseball. Experiments are not a good thing, and particularly when he's getting paid $30 million. Look, Turner's defense is a problem. Turner's bat is a problem. I know he can run. I know he's a great athlete. He just needs to bring it all together. And I know he works hard, and I know he's putting a lot of pressure on himself. It is a tough situation to be in.
All right, Oscar. We also know, we talked a little about yesterday. You got guys like Jeff Hoffman, Dalton Varsho, Joe Adell. They do anything for you. And if I told you had to trade a Gage Wood to get those guys,
I would probably trade Gay Wood for Hoffman and Varsho. I think it's an upgrade versus what you have right now. Is it sufficient? Probably not. I do believe you need 2 relievers. I mean, you need 2 relievers. I like the Hoffman idea. He can pitch more than 1 inning. He can pitch in the back end. You probably need 1 more reliever to be able to bring this relief corps to a decent. I mean, look, just think about it. You're going to be in the playoffs. You're going to have Christopher Sanchez. Let's say Christopher Sanchez has good 6 innings. Who's going to pitch the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning? And don't tell me it's Boland. Boland, to me, hasn't proven it to me yet in the postseason. Once he proved it to me, he was the last pitcher in the rotation of the Kansas City Royals last year. And he got traded here because he didn't have any options, and then the team wanted to trade Strom. So the question is, who are you going to bring? I mean, it is a big concern for me. You need 2 arms in the bullpen. If they don't bring 2 arms, we're going to be basically limping to the finish line here.
Yeah, and the other thing that we take a look at is, I don't know, how do you feel about the way the internal feel of this team is going right now?
It's another issue. I mean, that is another issue. I think the dynamics of Mattingly questioning players to be GMs and talking in the middle with other players in there. Look, I don't have one single problem with Bryce Harper said. Bryce Harper said exactly what everybody that wants the Phillies to win have stated. We need help. I mean, it's obvious that we need help. I mean, we have the worst outfield in baseball right now. The worst outfield in baseball. As simple as that.
Yeah, again, this is like, how many years now have you had the worst outfield in baseball?
Yeah, I mean, until Francisco Renterias come to play, I mean, we're going to continue to have the worst outfield in baseball because the talent is not there. I mean, it's as simple as that. Adolis Garcia wasn't the answer. We saw it in the beginning of the year. I mean, he struck out too much. I mean, he has some power, great, but we knew it. He was going to be a Nick Castellanos 2.0. Where's Nick Castellanos right now?
No, but
out of work.
Where's Bryce Harper right now? You mentioned it yesterday. I went and looked a little deeper. 186 batting average since the All-Star break. He is 186 since the All-Star break, ranks 160th out of 180 qualified hitters over that span. He is 8 for 43 since the All-Star break. So you're not getting any production from him. Schwarber's missed the last couple of games, and the result is you're 3-9 since the All-Star break. It's the second worst record in Major League Baseball. The only team worse is the Marlins, who swept you. So you're not getting the production since the All-Star break from your big guys, and now it's caused this. And you wonder, you talked about him against left-handed pitching. Ooh, man, I don't know how you fix that.
Look, it is a reality. Even though he's slumping, I like Harper. I do believe Harper is a big-time player. He loves the limelight. He loves to have the lights on top of him. Look, I remember couple years ago, and when we were playing the Mets in that series that we lost, we needed a home run from him. I mean, who was Severino was pitching? Remember that? We needed a home run to get back in the game, and he hit the home run. That was the second game that we ended up winning at Citizens Bank Park. But after losing the first game, Harper is a big time player in big time moments. I like Harper. I like what he brings. I like the intangibles. He doesn't back down from anyone. Schwarber and Harper are not the issue on this team. It's the supporting cast around them, the biggest issue, particularly from a hitting standpoint, in my view. And we need more contact. We need more contact. I mean, we're the worst team in all baseball in on-base percentage.
Yeah,
worst
303.
team.
303 on-base percentage. Worst as a team. Last year, they went out and got Harrison Bader. Is that player, that kind of a spark plug guy, I don't know, is he out there for this team?
I heard he was in a scooter and he hit a fire truck.
That's the second time he's been in a scooter accident, by the way.
Look, the guy I like the guy, man. He was fun to be around. He brought a lighthearted way to do it. I mean, he brought like the Superman approach. Here I am. I mean, I'm small, but I can be the best player out there. Look, and he showed it. He had the best 2 months that we've ever had from an outfielder in a long time, dude, out there. I mean, over 800 OPS. The guy was involved in key run scoring situations. I really like defensively. He was incredible out there, making some great plays. Look, is there a Bader out there? I don't think Barshow is a Bader. I think Barshow is kind of a low-key guy. He's okay. It doesn't excite me that much. Hoffman, I do believe, can help this team big time. Hoffman is a big time. I told you yesterday about Springer, and I do understand the implications of Springer's. I was looking at his stat. He's primarily a DH right now. Springer can help this team big time because he brings the experience. I mean, what we were talking about Adolis Garcia when he won the MVP of the American League Championship Series, Springer can do that. He was the MVP of the World Series in 2017. I like a lot of the intangibles, but he cannot play the outfield, and that's a problem because we have Schwarber. Unless you want to move Schwarber to play active. I mean, in 2022, he was our left fielder, but it's 4 years after that now? 5 years after that? A little scary.
Harper said he has his outfield mitt ready.
And then Schwarber is going to play first. Schwarber was awful in Boston playing first base. I saw him in spring training practicing. He can catch any ground ball. He was really good in ground balls. Now, in those throws that came from the infield that went to the ground, he was not picking up too many of those. So, look.
And by the way, Harper, who initially came out of the gates looking like a really good first baseman, and you're like, oh, we have an upgrade at first base. He has struggled at first base as well. So, I don't know. I mean, you got a lot of
Mike,
questions.
you add on top of that we're the worst defensive team in baseball, and you're going to start experimenting. I mean, I'm telling you, look, we're the worst on base percentage team in baseball. We're the worst defensive team in baseball. Look, we're the team that has the most wins of one run, which speak very highly of Durant. But I'm telling you, it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. This 2026 Phillies, unless Dombrowski throws the magic wand and brings something that can address and change the culture of this team a little bit.
Well, I'll give you some numbers. I'll give you some numbers real quick. You ready for these, Oscar? 29th in on-base percentage. One team in Major League Baseball history has finished last in on-base percentage and made the playoffs ever, and they're on pace to do that right now. Their OPS by the outfielders, they are 27th in OPS
700.
and 30th in on-base percentage for outfielders. So those numbers are going to be tough to overcome if you want to make a deep playoff run.
I mean, you can't. I mean, look at the outfield. I mean, De La Cruz is probably the best outfielder we have going on right now. I mean, Hill started really well. He started hitting really well, playing defensively really well. He's not hitting anymore. Look, Crawford, it's Crawford, right? Rookie. He's not, hitting his way into this lineup. And then you're forced to play Mundito out of position. And Mundito is not an everyday guy. I mean, it is. And then Brandon March is not even the shadow of what he was in the first 2-3 months of the year. So you're in trouble. I mean, you are in deep trouble. And the question is, how do you get out of deep trouble? And to me, it's shaking things up. And are we willing to do that at this point? And it's hard. It's a lot harder to do it. The question that I asked to you, Mike, is why hasn't Dombrowski in the last 2 years shake this team up?
Don't know.
Why hasn't
we
it?
thought for sure it was coming this offseason, and it didn't happen.
I mean, we're running it back. And I do understand the Bichette thing was an interesting idea. Bichette is hitting much better now. He has 53 RBIs. He could have been a nice addition now mid-season. I mean, hitting in between Harper or hitting behind Harper and Schwarber. But look, we continue doing the same thing. We're not going to get any different results. And this team is not. I would shake things up, even if it means trading a few of the guys that we love, the Brandon March of this world, the Stotts of this world. I mean, if not, nothing is going to change.
Got to do something. By the way, last in Major League in OPS by right-handed hitters, 640, 12-20 in games against left-handed starters this year. All a recipe for. Bryce Harper said it. We need help. That's today's Phillies Fastball. Oscar, have a great weekend, man. And we'll be back on Monday with more from the Phillies Fastball crew.
Dombrowski surprises.
Do something. Monday, trade deadline fastball here on the Sports Bash. It's brought to you by Ventnor Social. And, of course, we have On This Day, Do You Remember? Coming up next.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
The 2 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman. Call the law offices of Craig A. Altman for a free consultation today. All right, time for today's Do You Remember Things That Happened on this day, July 31st. We got the weekend edition, so we got a couple extra ones in here for you with the weekend. Do you remember on this day, Josh, 2012, the Phillies traded Shane Victorino to the L.A. Dodgers? Do you remember who they got?
Was this that random outfielder they got?
Not a random outfielder. Two pitchers, Josh Lindblom and Ethan Martin. I don't think either one of them really amounted to much.
Not ringing a bell.
2025 on this day, Dave Dombrowski gets Joan Duran from the Minnesota Twins. That happened on this day, 2025. Also, on 2022 on this day, the Phillies acquired outfielder Brandon Marsh from the Los Angeles Angels. Do you know who else came over in the trade?
Wasn't Noah Syndergaard a separate deal?
Syndergaard in the deal. Logan O'Hoppe goes to Anaheim in the deal for Marsh. And then on this day, 1987, Iron Mike Tyson defeats Tony Tucker, and he becomes the unified heavyweight champion of the world. Feels like that's a much different time. Do you know who the heavyweight champion of the world is right now?
Oh, it's Alexander Usyk.
Well, you know more than me because I did not know.
Nobody knows who the heavyweight champion except for a dork like me.
No, but you would know that Mike Tyson was the heavyweight champion.
Everyone knew.
All right, next hour. Hey, if you missed my conversation with Dave Gallagher from yesterday's show, we're going to play that back for you because I thought he was really, really good in talking about the trade deadline and getting ready for the deadline and giving us some insight on that, plus possibly changing positions in the middle of the season. So Dave Gallagher, my conversation with him is coming up next, followed by Mike McGarry and the unsportsmanlike moment of the day. What did Chris Canty have to say today about the Eagles? Who's on the hot seat? And Adam Kaplan has football at 4. He was at Eagles training camp the first 2 days. He'll give us some eyes and ears from the Jefferson Health Complex. Stick around. More Sports Bats coming up.
floor.
ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City.
He was off last week, and he can tell you a little bit more about what he was up to last week. Pretty cool opportunity, him working with a bunch of players and stuff. But while you were gone, Dave, the Phillies, what has happened to this team? They got swept by the Marlins. You got Bryce Harper saying, we need help. You got the manager saying, maybe you should keep your mouth shut there, Bryce. This thing got ugly pretty quick while you were gone.
What the heck happened? You know, I was checking in, checking the scores when I get back to the room. The days are long down there, that program. I've been doing that for 11 years now, but it's very well worth it. But anyway, I think when I left, they were about 2.5 or 3 out to the Braves. And now, what are they, 6.5? So, and you're right, a lot of turmoil going on the team. Bad feeling. And I think, I think it can be pointed back to in the off season or even last year. They had to know what their weaknesses were, and they just didn't plug them enough. And here we sit right now. The team that looked like they turned the season around is kind of fading. And if a couple of these guys have injuries, I hope Wheeler is healthy. But between him and Schwarber and JT, there's 3 guys that are very tough guys. You got so many different personalities. They're not whiners. They're going to play through pain, and that worries me. That concerns me if you're a Phillies fan, because JT's throwing just has been off. All season he's been like a lot of one-hops at second base. And this is a guy that when you knew he was a starting catcher, that in itself shut down the running game most of the time. And so even if he's not productive as a hitter, when the other team isn't running, it's a huge advantage. They're running now. And sometimes, yes, it's on the pitcher. I know Duran doesn't hold runners well, but they're not afraid to run when JT's catching. And if he's not producing on offense, that's not a good picture. Wheeler, he's tough as nails. He is not an excuse maker, but yet his velocity was down. Hopefully he gets right back to where he was. And then Schwarber, at times he is their offense. So, that right there, if the 3 of them aren't healthy, that could change the mindset of Dombrowski. Do you give up prospects, or if it looks like you're not going to have a fully healthy team with what you have, you may just stand pat and suck it up for the year, not give away your prospects. It's a lot to be seen coming up here.
Dave, what do you make of what Harper said? You're a player. You're in the locker room. He comes out and says, we need help. How was that received with the boys?
You might remember, Mike, a few weeks ago when I said when the year I played on the Phillies, we were stretching the outfield in spring training. And Darren Dalton and Lenny Dykstra said that we could use an innings eater. And you might remember me saying that, and your listeners might remember. And they both looked at me and said, we'll go in and talk to Lee. It was Lee Thomas was the GM. And they did. They had that kind of a relationship. But there's the difference. They were saying, we'll go in and talk to him, not say it to the press. Like that's the one disagreement I would have with Bryce. But don't forget, Dombrowski said something to the press. What you might remember the statement that he's not a superstar anymore, or
he said he's not elite,
He's not elite. So that was said to the press. Like you just, to me, you don't do that because you are affecting the other person and how they make a living. Right? There's no reason to do that. That to me is a one-on-one, or go in with a couple of leaders on the team, and it doesn't have to be contentious. Just, hey, can you have a few minutes to talk about the status of the team? And Mattingly's right. Like if you think about the statement itself, we need help. Well, everybody in that locker room, they can kind of look in a mirror and say, he must be talking about me. There's quite a few that can say that. He's probably talking about me, unfortunately. So I think that was Mattingly's point is, there's no need to say that. My guess is, though, now weighing it out, Dombrowski probably fully intended to make a move, and the team playing so well when they was allowing him to wait and wait and wait and see what kind of a deal can I make here without giving up too much. Well, that didn't work out because now they're hanging on to a playoff spot and seem to be fading. Now I think if you're going to give it a shot, you got to make a move that changes the mood in the clubhouse. An impact type of move where everybody says, "Oh, now we got a fresh start. We got new bodies, or at least a body, and let's see if we can turn it on for the final 2 months."
So you got Bryce Harper that comes out and says, "We need help." What did you think of Mattingly's retort, though? I mean, if you're a player and the manager comes out and essentially poo-poos what you just said.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think the way he said it, I watched and I listened to how that was going to end up, because you're right, there was some pushback. But the way he pushed back when he said, you're basically saying that our team isn't good enough, and like, who is that? Like, who are you talking about? That was Mattingly's response. I like that response because he wasn't necessarily taking the side of Dombrowski or Bryce. I think he's aware they need help. I think everybody knows they need help, but he didn't want to put it on any specific group. Like if you say we need a starter, well, you're speaking directly to Nola and Rangel. That's what you're saying. We could use 2 starters, or we could use a right fielder that's got some pop. Now you got Hill and Rincones, now Dela Cruz. That's a direct remark about their play, and
right.
it can be true, but these are the guys you're in the locker room with every day. So I think it would have been perfect if it was just behind closed doors. Nobody needed to know about it except the players on the team that went in and sat with them and met with them, because then they'll get the right answer. Dombrowski might say, "Look, guys, I've been trying. I know we need help in certain areas, and I've been trying, but we don't have enough to give." He'd have to be careful what he says, because one of the guys in that room asking him might be one that he's offering.
Right. Well,
I mean,
so do you think Dave Gallagher is with us, 9-year Major League Baseball veteran, played with the Philadelphia Phillies in 1995, and has gone through a bunch of different trade deadlines, and we'll get your thoughts on that coming up in a minute as well. But is Harper directing his message to Dombrowski as, "Hey, you said I'm not elite. Well, you haven't done your job well enough. We need help"?
He probably is. I don't know, because I feel that. I really do. I don't know what has happened to me, but I think it's since I started doing this show with you that, I've started like really getting into the Phillies. And I was always kind of like, when you get bounced as much as I did, your favorite team was the team you were on at the time. And growing up, I was a Giants fan because my father used to tell me stories about Willie Mays, and he saw him at the Polo Ground. But now, I didn't really have a favorite team. I just would watch games for the interest of the game itself. And now all of a sudden, I'm really following strong the Phillies, and I'm getting frustrated. So I can imagine the Phillies fans are very frustrated at not, nothing being done, and waiting and watching where you were solid and you were about to have a shot at taking over first place in the division, and to just watch it melt and nothing being done. And what kind of a mood does that cause into the locker room? So look, the players have to be number one, responsible. They have to be accountable first. And I don't know, who could you say is doing fantastic? We kind of been waiting for Marsh to fade. He has faded. He's holding on now. But to his credit, he had been the most consistent hitter on that team.
Mm-hmm. He's down to 280, Dave, Marsh.
No, I've been there. I had a year where I was at 305 or 303 at the break, and physically I got worn down. I was an everyday center fielder, and you start thinking about just taking your position 9 times, sprinting on and off the field, then anything you do during a game, just being on your feet. And now all of a sudden you play 30 games in spring training or a few less maybe, and all those games during the season. And I started to fade, and I remember seeing it go from 300 into the 290s. Oh, well, that's not bad. And then it goes into the 280s, and all right, I better hang on. Then it's 270s. I finished that year at 266. And I remember, wow, I was just holding on. So it wears you down physically. It wears you down mentally. I do think he's a big guy, and he's strong, and the guys maintain, their diets are good, now. So it's probably a little easier to maintain your physical strength. And I do think he'll get hot again. He's just in a lull right now. I hope, for the sake of the Phillies, I hope so, right?
Yeah, well, he's been struggling a lot against left-handed pitching. They're almost platooning him again. You got almost 3 platoons in the outfield, Dave. You got De La Cruz up here. He's now playing with the Rincones. You've got the center field with Hill and Crawford. And then you've got Marsh and Sosa kind of platooning in left field. And you wonder, how realistic is that? By Monday, Dave Dombrowski almost has to find some sort of answer, you would think. But as we've talked a lot about, we're a couple days down from the deadline. He's got a lot of holes he needs to fill, and that's becoming apparent almost by the day. Yesterday, you have a 6-0 lead. Your bullpen can't hold that. You lose 1-0 the day before, so it's your offensive warts. And the day before that, your ace starter could only get you 3 innings, and then your closer blows the game. I mean, they lost in a variety of ways the last 3 days.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think as the weeks go by, the trade, the needs and the wants that you have in a trade, they keep changing. They're changing because all of a sudden you need more. Now, the first thing I would want to know if I was Dombrowski is the health of Zach. I know he's saying he'll be fine, but when your velocity drops like that, 2-3 miles an hour, I mean, it could be something in the shoulder. It could be something, right? I mean, dead arm this time of year, that usually happens in spring training, and then they recover. Hopefully he can come back, because if he misses time, or he's throwing it, 90, 91, 93, I think we saw what can happen, right? It's not as effective.
Watch Aaron Nola.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. That's what he has become. I still believe that theory, Mike, where, players are like chameleons, and the era that they play in, they figure out. And the first day you walk onto rookie ball in minor leagues, you look around because you're wondering, am I good enough? You look around, you see this kid from California, this kid from Ohio. Yeah, why is he on the team? You don't look that good in batting practice. Oh, he can fly. That's why he's drafted. You start measuring everything. And this guy's got power. He can't run a lick, but he's got power. So that's why he's on a team. And you measure yourself against them. And then time goes on. I think guys are getting paid on the mound for the most part because their arms are powerful. And they throw as hard as they can, as long as they can. And they light up the radar gun. And their command typically isn't that great. The absolute elite will have both. They'll have power in their arms, plus they'll have command. But I think the game has changed on the mound, and a guy that used to be able to hit both corners, like Nola, hit outside corner, pitch to the inside corner, and then Maddox, and then steal a little bit more from the umpire. Let me go 2 inches off the outside. Now 3 inches off. And with this ABS system, I just think they are falling out of the picture, and the power arm becomes, all right, we need swing and miss. So we need guys that can throw past you. And they're not so trustworthy, because they can lose their command and walk 1 or 2 guys, hit a guy. But I think the game has changed. And if you look at the offensive side, it's almost, okay, that has become, you've talked about it. The types of hitters that are excelling and getting paid. They're getting paid as free agents. They're getting paid in arbitration. That you can hit 210, 208, if you have 35 home runs and you drive in 80 plus. So if you look at the swings, it almost is like the count doesn't matter. They're swinging from their heels. And like I said, I don't blame the player. They're figuring out this is how I can get paid. And so the game has changed. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it's definitely changed. And I think they're going to keep doing what they're doing until the evaluators and how you get paid until that changes. And will it come back? I don't know. How do you feel, Mike, about that ABS? How do you feel like as a fan? Do you enjoy it?
I feel that many times, to me, it feels like I don't need an ABS overturn on a ball that is out of the zone or in the zone by a fraction of an inch. To me, that's not what this was intended for. It's for an egregious miss. Not that one missed by a half of an inch, and it gets overturned because he missed it by a half of an inch is a half of an inch. I mean, that's a ball, it's a strike, just because the ABS says when that ball goes up there and that tiny little red lights up, you're like, oh my God, they're overturning that. Right. Come on. Like, so I think it has become, it should be used, in my opinion, is if it's an egregious miss that someone just calls down and says, hey, you missed that by whatever it is, 2 feet, 3 inches, not a half of an inch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And it gets frustrating to watch for sure. And it definitely has changed some of the protocol, like what catchers would do with umpires. I used to like to teach the catchers that I had in my organization for years how to develop a relationship with the umpire. Don't ever show him up. You know, that's why you didn't yank a pitch that was 6 inches outside and pull it back to the middle, because the umpire knows it's a ball, but you're making the crowd think that it was a strike where you're holding your mitt. So they boo the umpire. Don't do that to the umpire. Get him on your side. And if he's missing, we used to have a signal. I'm not going to yell out to the catcher, hey, was that a strike? And make him answer in front of the umpire. No, we pull your mask, hold your mask, and that's telling me he missed that pitch. If he misses a lot, I'll go out to the mound, wait for him to come out and talk. Like, there was all this protocol, and it's gone. It's gone. And I don't know what the umpires think right now. You know, that they're still rated. They get rated. They get tested on everything. You know what I half-heartedly said on your show probably a month or so ago? I was just joking, but it's going to happen, where I was saying it's going to come up in arbitration, the success rate of a catcher or a hitter, how many times he challenges, and his success rate. Like, they're starting to talk about, well, this catcher, he's got a 65% success rate on challenges. Are you kidding me? The guys are going to start getting paid as if like that's war or that's stolen bases. It's what are they even going to call it? You know, I just I get frustrated by all of that, but I think mostly, you know, I'm seeing it affect guys who use the art of pitching. You know, let me get that outside corner. Now let me go look. Look, I'm a hitter saying this, and the pitcher used to be able to steal a little bit more. Let me go out a little bit more, 2 inches off. And the catcher's working with him, and they're trying to find that out early. If we can find out in the first inning, he'll give us 3 or 4 inches off the outside corner. And I think I appreciated it because I played center, and I could see everything. I could see where the catcher was setting up, and if the pitcher could hit him. Like some of the guys, Maddox had unbelievable control. You know, I used to hear his bullpen between starts, and you'd hear somebody cursing and turn around. It's him because he asked the catcher to set up on the inside black, and he missed by 2 inches over the middle. That's how much of a perfectionist he was. But you watch the guys that are having success now, they're just reaching back and throwing it. If they get through 5, maybe 6 innings of throwing 100, 102, 103, and just blowing people away, that's sought after. You know,
Dave, I want to get your take on what it's like right now, because the Phillies, they lose the game 6-0. You're starting to feel that this thing's slipping away a little bit, although they have fallen from the first wild card to the second wild card. They are now the third wild card. So they are starting to lose some ground here. You got the trade deadline on Monday. What are these last couple days like when you're hearing your name or you know that Bryce Harper says, like, we need help? What are these last couple days like for these guys?
Well, you're talking to a guy that this time of year was like hell for me because I got traded so many times, and it was this time of year. From the Phillies, I went to the Angels, and I remember Frank Koppenbarger. He was at the time he ran the locker room. He was the head locker room attendant. Then he became traveling secretary. But his job was to come and get me off the field and bring me in to sit down with the manager, Jim Fregosi, and Lee Thomas. And I think they even brought the owner down to tell me that I was traded. And then I got to make that dreaded phone call to my wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm getting traded from Philadelphia, where I'm driving from my house and saying, goodbye to my kids and seeing, my wife coming home, at least during the homestands. I'm going to go to California for the final 2 months of the season. I'll see you when we play Baltimore and the Yankees. Like, that's basically my wife was saying, are you going to go? Am I going to go? I'm like, Jane, that's how I get paid. I don't get paid if I don't go. But she was serious. Like, are you going to go? And looking at me like I'm supposed to just walk away from the game and stay home.
I always wondered that, Dave, about spouses of professional athletes where, the team's mathematically eliminated. It doesn't, do you really have to go? The game doesn't mean anything. Like, if they have just no understanding of what these games really mean and how important they are, even when the game has no mathematical meaning.
Mike, it's not good. It is not good. I always make you laugh with these stories, but I walked out of my house in Millstone, Central Jersey, and everything was great. Me and my wife were just talking, laughing, and whatever. I walked outside. I was gone for 20 minutes. I don't even know what I did. Something in the yard. When I came back in, she was so pissed off at me. And I said, there's something wrong. And what I found out is she was watching Oprah Winfrey, and her topic of the day was professionals whose career, I guess, aids in them cheating on their wives. And they had like a baseball player, a rock star. And I'm like, I just walked out of the house. I came back in, and all of a sudden I'm a jerk of a husband. You know what I mean? I did nothing.
Yeah.
I think I raked leaves or whatever, but it's not easy. We have 5 kids. So in my case, it was, when I'm going on the road, I'm leaving her behind with all these kids to take care of and take them to Little League practice and the doctor and parent teacher meeting until I get back. I always try to convince her, like, we're a team here. This is a partnership of us trying to get the best out of this we can. And if we do it well enough, I'll be able to retire in my late 30s. Like, I always try to paint that picture, but certainly wasn't easy for sure.
Well, that's what the Phillies are kind of dealing with right now. Many of them are waiting to see if they will be here after Monday. We know Bryce Harper wants help. We know Dave Dombrowski is trying to get him help. We know they need help, and they need a lot of it. They need pitching. They need bullpen pitching. They probably need a bat or maybe 2. We'll see what happens this time next week, Dave, when we chat again. There will likely be a new bat arm here, and we'll look forward to talking to you about all of it coming up. Thanks, man.
Mike, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'll leave you with this. I think Turner's going to be an outfielder after the break, after the deadline. I would do it.
All right.
I would do it to help him and the team. But, get him out of shortstop to, relieve the heat that's on him. And for the next 5 or 6 years, whatever they have left, put him in the outfield and get yourself somebody who can, consistently play defense. They need that. It's not
that would be shocking, but I would be on board with that 1,000. Zach Neto's name has been brought up a bunch. He's a shortstop, hits for power. I saw something today. I don't know how they even do this anymore, but they said if he hit at Citizens Bank Park, he had 19 homers now. If he hit at Citizens Bank Park, he would have 28 homers. So add that to your lineup.
The ball flies there in the summer. It really does.
Yeah. All right, Dave. We'll catch up with you next week, man.
All right, Mike. Take care.
Dave Gallagher, everybody, 9-year Major League Baseball veteran.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN. You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
The 3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by Broadleaf Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Call 609-390-3907 or visit them online at broadleaf.net. All right, everybody, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We've got the Phils and the Orioles taking center stage tonight. Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City is here as the Phillies announced a little earlier that Andrew Painter will be called up to pitch the game against the Orioles. The 23-year-old struggled with the Phillies, an ERA of over 7, a whip of 1.6. So he had all sorts of issues here, Mike. He went down to AAA. His last 2 starts, he's been pretty good, but overall, he's just been okay. Is this a panic move by the Phils tonight, or is it just hey, we got nobody else to go to, and this is our best option?
Yeah, a little bit of both, Mike, I think. I think a couple things are at play here. First of all, when they sent Andrew Painter down to AAA, they said they weren't going to rush him back, and they made it seem like 1 or 2 good starts was not going to lead to an automatic promotion back to the big leagues, but that's what happened. And I just think they have nobody to pitch that 5th spot. I mean, I guess they're either 5-21 or 5-22 now in games not started by Nola, Luzardo, Wheeler, or Sanchez. Somebody has to pitch every 5th day. Painter has been good his last 2 outings. And keep in mind, Mike, trade deadline is Monday. If he goes out tonight and pitches well, shows he can get major league hitters out, maybe they're showcasing him a bit too. So you don't know exactly what is going on at this time of year. Many levels, no easy answer for why he's on the mound tonight.
Well, we're just after 3:30 on Friday afternoon. When we get back on Monday and talk to you, is Andrew Painter still a part of this organization?
Interesting question, Mike. I think, boy, that is a really good question. Let me answer it this way. I think a recognizable Phillies player who is on the team today will not be on the team after the trade deadline. So that might be Andrew Painter. That might be Alec Boehm. That might be somebody else on the major league roster. Because I think this team almost has no choice but to do something big to kind of shake them out of the doldrums, kind of like how they fired Rob Thompson back in April. You can't fire the manager again. So I think this time a player is going to take the hit. So I do think that Monday night at 6:01, when that trade deadline is done, somebody off the major league roster, will not be with the Phillies. And, Painter is certainly a candidate, to be a guy who is moved in a deal.
Talk with Mike McGarry. You talk about they can't fire the manager. What do you think about the manager? He came out and essentially went against his star player. He has been questioned the last couple of weeks here with some moves. Is the honeymoon already over for Don Mattingly?
Well, I think the honeymoon is over from this perspective that the team is just struggling and not playing well. I understand some of his pitching moves have been questioned. At the same time, what do you want the guy to do when you're 3-9 since the All-Star break? And what have you, in 5 or 6 of those games, you've scored 1 run or less? So I'm not so sure what the manager can do in that situation. I just think as far as Mattingly goes and him calling out Bryce Harper, I mean, when your nickname is the sport, they don't call him Donnie Baseball for nothing. He played in New York. He managed in Los Angeles. He's seen just about everything that can happen on a baseball field happen. He's very comfortable in his own skin, and he's not going to be intimidated or tiptoe around today's players because his resume is as good as theirs, if not better. So, I don't fault Bryce Harper for saying what he said when he said they needed some help. I think he could have been a little bit more tactful when he said it. And I also don't fault Don Mattingly for going out and kind of saying that Bryce maybe should have been a bit more tactful. And I do think
that Mattingly might be the only one in the Phillies organization who can kind of, point that out to Bryce these days.
Yeah, I know that there was a report that essentially Bryce and Dombrowski, that they don't like each other. You wonder, Mike, how much longer that relationship could even last.
Yeah, here's what I say to that. When you're losing, people get on people's nerves, right? Little habits become annoying. Things that you say get blown out, become issues. You saw it with Dombrowski and the elite comment. Is Bryce Harper elite? In his press conference at the end of last season, they were coming off a bad loss to the Dodgers in the division series. Now you have Bryce Harper kind of knocking the front office when they're off to a 3-9 start after the All-Star break. I understand feelings can get bruised, but here's what I also know. There's nothing that has been said by either Dombrowski or Harper that couldn't be solved with a 7-game winning streak or a deep run in the playoffs.
Well, we got a 3-game losing streak swept by the Marlins, and it was a variety of ways. Mike, it was it was your ace starter didn't get out of the third. Your ace closer didn't close the game. You lost 1-0, so you couldn't score. And then you had a game in which basically one of your big problems came back. Your bullpen completely lost it. You left Luzardo out there too long. So they lost the last 3 games against the Marlins. They lost in almost every inconceivable way. And it seems that there's a lot of fixes that need to happen and a lot of problems to fix. And I don't know that they have enough to get it all done.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked, for a while about all the needs that they have, right? Bullpen arms. At least one left-hander, at least maybe a guy to take down that 8th inning in front of Durant, starting pitching help, and certainly, a boost offensively. And now you look at defensively, Mike, too. I mean, we just talked about Bryce Harper. He has really struggled at first base this season, especially against balls hit to his right. It seems like, every time, he dives and doesn't come up with it. You're holding your breath every time the ball is hit to shortstop with Trey Turner. And honestly, Mike, out of the losses in Miami, the one that concerns me the most is the Zach Wheeler game. Here's a guy who had major surgery last September. His velocity was down in that start. He just kind of brushed it aside and said, it was just a bad day. It happens. It happens to everybody. But I am extremely interested to see what Zach Wheeler looks like on Sunday in Baltimore. Is his velocity back? Does he look like the Wheeler who pitched earlier in the season and pitched last year? Because if it's not, and if Zach Wheeler has an issue, then I'm not sure who the Phillies can acquire at the trade deadline, whether or not that person or persons can have a big impact on the team if Wheeler is not Wheeler.
What do you think about? There's been Zach Neto's name has brought up a lot. You just hinted at Trey Turner's defense in something you just said a couple moments ago. Can you see a situation where they trade for a shortstop and then tell Trey Turner he's moving to another position?
I can see it now, Mike. And a couple of weeks ago, I think you asked me the same exact question, and I said, no, they're not going to move the guy in the middle of the season. They're not going to do that to the guy. But with the way he's played shortstop, the amount of errors that he has committed, it's almost been one a game at shortstop, almost. You can't have that. And I just never thought that it would get to a point where they would consider that. But I think you're at a point now. You can't have your heart in your throat every time a ground ball is hit to shortstop. So could I see them going out and getting Neto, moving him to shortstop, and maybe moving, Turner to third base? I can see that. I think they're open to that, or I think they've been forced to be open to that because of how poorly Turner has performed at shortstop this season.
All right, we're talking with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, as the Phillies are in Baltimore getting ready to take on the Orioles, where obviously this team has really, really struggled the last couple of games, and the trade deadline is here. We just talked about Trey Turner and his struggles about possibly moving him around. There has been talk about Jeff Hoffman and Dalton Varsho. I don't know where Varsho, how he helps and fits in. I don't know that Hoffman does a whole heck of a lot for me, but does that level of trade do anything for you, Mike McGarry?
Doesn't really do anything for me. I'm with you there. I mean, I guess Varsho gives you a little bit of a better bat in the outfield, basically. Jeff Hoffman doesn't really excite me. I mean, you're looking for a reliever to get big outs in the postseason. The last two postseasons, I guess 2024 with the Phillies and 2025 with Toronto, Jeff Hoffman had his issues in the postseason. So I don't know if you're going to tell me that the Phillies are acquiring Jeff Hoffman to now pitch the eighth inning. I don't feel a lot of confidence in that based on the way he's pitched in the last two seasons. And I think Varsho is probably a bit of an upgrade over, a guy like Rincon, maybe over a guy like De La Cruz. But again, I'm not going to start booking a parade down Broad Street because Dalton Varsho has walked into the Phillies clubhouse.
I agree. That one, a left-handed bat, not a lot of pop, low on base, doesn't do a lot for me there. Joe Adell's name brought up, a guy who's right-handed. Maybe that does a little bit more. I don't know if it's the difference maker, though, that will really lengthen this lineup and change the complexity of the offense. Mike, outside of finding a middle-of-the-order hitter, I don't think getting your Austin Hayes. Now, they did get Bader last year, and he did help them. So, I don't know. Can they find that diamond in the rough?
Yeah, maybe. And I'm not even sure who that guy is out there. And I think a lot of teams are looking for that big bat. And it's tough to find. I'm not sure that guy out there is really available. Buxton went on the injured list, so that kind of takes him off the market, and Minnesota actually acquired a reliever, AJ Minter, from the Mets, the guy I thought the Phillies could have benefited from. So maybe that means Minnesota is buying and not selling. So I'm not sure that big bat is even out there. There definitely are pitchers out there. We see Detroit Tigers tonight pulled Casey Mize out of his start, said he's not going to pitch till after the deadline. Is Skubal going to move? Is Mize going to move? There are big pitchers and relievers out there. I think you might be in a situation where if you're the Phillies, you might go grab that starting pitcher that you can add to the rotation, and then you can get, maybe you can put another guy in the bullpen when it comes to the postseason there. So if you get another starter, maybe you can take Luzardo and then shift him to the bullpen in the postseason. I don't know. There are relievers out there. The Mets have a ton of them, basically. Luke Weaver and a bunch of other guys who would fit in well with Philadelphia. So, I almost think the Phillies maybe have got to improve that pitching staff. And then the guys who are getting paid an awful lot of money, your Turners, your Harpers, your Schwarbers, your young guys who it's time for them to mature and step forward, your Stotts, your Brandon Marshes, those guys have just got to hit. And if they're not good enough, they're not good enough.
Phillies will face the Orioles tonight. It's Andrew Painter against Brandon Young. The Orioles don't have a lot of pitching. He's one guy that's been decent for them this year, 8-2, 3.13 ERA, 129 WHIP for Young. They've got some injury problems. Both their catchers are hurt. Zach Eflin has been out all season. He was the one pitcher that they could kind of rely on. So this has been a Chris Bassett who they signed in the offseason. He hasn't been able to help them. So this has been a very disappointing Orioles team. But they are kind of in the wild card mix, so we shall see. Where is Camden Yards on your list of stadiums there, Mike McGarry?
It's outstanding stadium. I love the stadium. And obviously it's kind of it was the first one of this new model ballpark. Now, what I loved about Camden Yards especially was the press box was very low. It was almost like right behind home plate on a lower level. I think they moved it up since I've last been there. But, I just think it's a great setting, that Inner Harbor area there. Good history there. They got a statue of the Bambino, Babe Ruth, out there in the outfield, basically. A lot of good places to be. So on my list of ballparks, I think Camden Yards, obviously, and I think it would be with everybody's, it's got to be, pretty much near the top of the list, basically.
I got to get back out there. It's been years since I've been to Baltimore a bunch. I just haven't been to a game at Camden Yards in a couple of years. Phils are out there all weekend long. We'll be back on Monday to recap the weekend. Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Mike, before we go, starting to see the football previews are coming out from the Press of Atlantic City. Already got high school football on your mind.
Yeah, already. We might be a little late to the dance here, Mike. I mean, high school football, tomorrow's August 1st. High school football starts August 27th. That's Thursday with the Battle at the Beach at Ocean City and a bunch of opening games. So the season is a little bit more than 3 weeks away. We've got 2 previews running in our paper tomorrow, Hamilton and Middle Township. We're going to start posting team previews online every morning beginning tomorrow. So look for that high school football content. We've already put out the list of college prospects in the area. We've already put out a kind of a scouting report of how each team is expected to do this season. Yeah, it's hard to believe we sit here on a sunny, 85-degree day, but high school football is about 3.5 weeks away from kicking off for real.
Well, we do have football coming up in a couple of minutes. We'll be talking football, but high school football will be back. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Nobody covers it better here in our area, so make sure you follow him at AC Press McGarry for all the previews for high school football, which is coming back in the Battle at the Beach. Now, that's all back in Ocean City this year, right? The whole thing?
Yeah, the whole thing's back in Ocean City Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Great schedule of games highlighted by Atlantic City Shabazz, I believe, on Thursday night. That's a game that a lot of people are going to want to see. A lot of hype around that Atlantic City football team this season, so it should be an outstanding year.
All right, Mike. Well, have a good weekend, man. We will catch up with you on Monday.
All right, we'll see you down the road, Mike.
There's Mike McGarry at AC Press McGarry. Follow him right there on the Twitter X platform. I'm Mike Hill. This is the Sports Bash. And don't forget the Golics return on Monday. The Golics will return to 97.3 ESPN. Mike Golick Jr., Mike Golick Sr. They bring you the Golics. It's a new weekday lineup starting August the 3rd with the Golics right here on 97.3 ESPN from 10 to noon right after on Sportsmanlike on 97.3. All right, coming up, it's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. What did Chris Canty have to say about the Eagles offense this morning? Find out coming up next.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The 3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by Broadleaf Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Call 609-390-3907 or visit them online at broadleaf.net.
The addition by subtraction move of A.J. Brown puts more pressure on Nick Sirianni to make it work with new offensive coordinator Sean Mannion. The offense can't be erratic like it was last year. They have to be more consistent. It's clear that Philly has a championship-level defense. It's whether or not the offense is going to come to the party, and they have a Super Bowl MVP quarterback in Jalen Hurts. So if the offense looks a lot like it did last year, then all of a sudden you could be talking about having a new head coach.
All right, that is our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Chris Canty said that this morning on Unsportsmanlike. You can listen to it 6 to 10 weekdays right here on 97.3 ESPN. And Chris Canty's not wrong. I mean, it's something that we've talked a lot about. What happens if the offense struggles? What do you do? The problem is I think there's so many peels of the onion here, Josh. Do you fire Nick Sirianni, which then by proxy would probably mean you're also getting rid of the coordinator? Do you keep Nick Sirianni and bring in another new coordinator? I don't see that happening. Do you keep Nick Sirianni and the coordinator because you believe in them and get rid of Jalen Hurts? So what Kenny's saying there is not the most hottest of hot takes is that if the offense struggles, Sirianni's probably the guy who's in some trouble here.
Listen, he's not wrong in the most literal sense, but as the world's foremost literal expert, can I be not literal here for a minute, Mike, and ask the question, what is it about coming into this season is a red flag that would make us think that this offense is not going to be successful?
I think it's just the fact that you have a new offense, It's another new terminology and all that stuff that Jalen Hurts is now processing. So that would be your reason. I don't think it's devoid of talent. You have enough talent on this offense that you should be serviceable, but it's, hey, Jalen Hurts is either capable of running this offense or you're in some trouble here, right? I mean, there's no two ways around this.
Yeah, and I would also throw into the fact that, it's not just on Jalen with all of this. A lot of the guys at training camp, the offensive linemen, Saquon Barkley, they're all talking about this offense like it's a revelation. So to me, I don't like Canty saying it's all on Sirianni because it's also on the players who are speaking so highly of it to execute it, right?
Yeah, listen, I think, and we're going to talk to Adam Kaplan coming up in a couple of minutes about some of the things that he's observing at training camp. And I'm wondering what the people, think about this offense so far. Breath of fresh air. This is something I think a lot of the players are probably going to be receptive to. The question has always kind of been about Jalen Hurts. Does he want to throw the ball over the middle? This is an offense that he's going to be under center. He hasn't worked under center all that much. So if you are taking the bold move as the head coach to then force your quarterback into a role that maybe he's not, we're assuming maybe that he can't excel in this role. That's the problem. The assumption has been, well, he hasn't thrown the ball over the middle. Maybe he doesn't like to do it. Maybe that's not the role for him. Maybe he will be great in this role. We don't know. But if you're taking the bold decision as the head coach to change the offense to something that he maybe doesn't excel in, now you're putting your neck on the line, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I think that's the key. And that is, he's never been asked to do some of this stuff before. So this is a literal unknown we're walking into. And I think that's why, at least for me, I'm taking a more of a wait and see approach than is it going to be good or bad? Because to me, there's a very, shall I call it, high curiosity factor.
I think there's a high curiosity factor because the offense has struggled so mightily over the last couple of years, even while the team has had success. You've had team success, but your offense has not held up its end of the bargain. Many times at the end of a win, you would be saying, my God, the offense looked terrible. And it turns out to be one of your, downfalls in the end is your offense hasn't been consistent enough. You got a really good defense. We'll see if this offense can hold up its end of the bargain. That's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. And don't forget, you can check out Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings, 6 to 10 on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Gill. Before we get out of here this hour for Football at 4, I want to tell you about my friend Rocco and his team, what they've built at Key Acura of Atlantic City. They have built a loyal fan base and repeat customers. They come back time and time again. Why? They do things the right way year after year. That's why Acura delivers the kind of performance, precision, and dependability that you can count on. Check them out, the small but friendly dealer. Key Acura backs it up, and you can check them out on Tilton Road in EHT. Ask for my friend Rocco and say, hey, been hearing about this Acura. I want to get into an Acura. What can we do? He's there to help you out. Key Acura, Tilton Road, EHT, online at keyacuaofAtlanticCity.com. When we come back, Adam Kaplan's here for today's Football at 4. And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Adam Kaplan's here today. And, of course, Football at 4 is brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Big screens, big bets, game day hits different at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Don't forget, tomorrow night, the big concert zone on there, Blues Traveler, along with Gin Blossom and the Spin Doctors. I know those are three of your favorites, Adam Kaplan. I can see you partying up with Blues Traveler.
Yeah, but no, again, the 90s music, there's a running joke at the tennis club I belong to that if it's not 80s, I don't know anything about it, but that's not true. I do know some, and Blues Travelers definitely I know about.
Well, I am slated to go to the concert, but if my team advances, we play tomorrow at 4:00. So I got to give my tickets up. I won't be able to go. But if we unfortunately don't, I'll be at the concert tomorrow night. So I'm hoping to not see Blues Traveler tomorrow night.
Good problem to have. Yeah,
we would have won.
It is interesting the way things work out. I remember I was doing an interview with someone recently who asked me about my Sixers fandom, and I said, let me tell you how crazy of a Sixers fan I am. In 2001, traveled to the finals on my own dime, got a single seat, actually got great seats in what was called the Staples Center then. And then when I was in high school, when they were in 82, 83, I had the next game. Okay, I had tickets for the next game, but the Sixers swept, so I never got to go. So, yeah, Mike, it's sometimes they're good problems to have, and getting back to you, your team winning is obviously a little bit more important than going to a good concert, though.
Now, I was supposed to go see Toad the Wet Sprocket tonight. They're playing tonight.
Who?
Toad the Wet Sprocket is playing tonight with Men at Work.
Men at Work, I know. They're from Australia, but the first band, is that, are they from the Jetsons? I don't know them.
No, I mean, they're pretty, they had their little cult following there. All right, Adam, let's get into something I know you know really well. First couple days of Eagles training camp. Let's take a look at what stood out and looked different during the first two practices. Everybody wants to know what this offense is going to look like. So let's start with the offensive side of the ball. What are we observing that stood out and looked different during these first two camp practices?
Yeah, and that's really the way I wanted to set this up, because this is a brand new offense, Mike. The Eagles, we already know they had the biggest offensive line in weight in the National Football League. And they might have the tallest offensive line, Mike. Fred Johnson. It was funny. I was asking Andrew DeCecco on Thursday, because we're right in back of the linemen, who's taller, Fred Johnson or Jordan Mailata? And Jordan Mailata technically is taller at 6'8", but they've got a lot of length. They had Dante Wicks as a big-bodied receiver. You really like that. The other thing, Mike, that is interesting is that they are really athletic and they're really fast. Like you couldn't really tell in OTAs, because those are we call passing camps, or more like flag football. And yes, Thursday until early next week, they have to have reduced practices. You can't hit. We're in the 5-day acclimation period, but the tempo's better. The Eagles, Mike, despite the trade of A.J. Brown, they're still they're still a very, very athletic offense.
Well, one thing everybody's wondering about is Jalen Hurts, and is he going to be under center, and the timing throws? Is he?
Yep.
Are we seeing that early on here?
So, Mike, you asked me that back in February. What's this going to look like? I said it's going to go pure West Coast. Terminology is going to change. Hurts will be under center way more. Over the past 5 seasons, under center less than 20% of the time. That's going to change. You're going to see pre-snap motion. We saw it. Under center, we saw it almost the entire practice. It's just one of these things I was marveling at. I'm like, this is so different, Mike. As I watched Thursday's practice, which was longer than Wednesday's, I was like, this is just not what I've seen with Jalen Hurts. I know a lot of people critical. Why are you doing this to him? Look, you got to advance. The guy's a Super Bowl winner. He can handle this. It's not what he's used to. That's okay. By the way, I remember Phillip Rivers. He was exclusively in shotgun when he was at North Carolina State. It took him a while to play under center. Like it's going to be an adjustment. People need to be patient, Mike, and plenty of pre-snap motion. There's just a lot different. To answer your question, Mike, it looks like an offense they've never run here. To sum this up.
Right, a lot of I guess more pre-snap motion, more pass timing in the pass game?
Yep.
What kind of formations and groupings are we seeing here?
All right, so with the timing of the passing game, it's interesting. The first 10 minutes of practice, right? Hurts is under center, play action pass. He throws a gorgeous crosser to Dallas Goedert. Timing was like right on time. Like, yeah, Goedert would get the ball, Mike, in previous schemes and previous play callers, but not that type of route. That's a West Coast route. That was a beautiful timing route. Hurts read it correctly. He laid it right on him. In stride, Mike. See, this is one of the things that Jalen has struggled with mightily is anticipation throws, where you know where the guy's got to be. You're throwing the ball in the middle of his route and telling him to go get it. That's an anticipation throw because it's a spot throw. That throw that I talked about with Goddard was right there. It was just a great throw. The Dontavian Wicks one that I know the reporters saw, that was a broken down play. Hurts just heaved it downfield, and Wicks made a great catch over two defenders. But the question formationally, we saw plenty of 12 personnel, plenty of 11 personnel. See, they have enough players to run either. It's who's going to perform at the highest. That'll determine what they're going to lean towards of the two personnel groupings. But understand, Mike, they led the NFL in 24 in 12 personnel. Why? Because they were the best running team in NFL history from beginning through the Super Bowl. So now that times have changed. The offensive line's older, beat up. A.J. Brown's gone, so things are different now. We'll see what happens, Mike. But the personnel groupings, you also saw a lot of in-breakers. I love that. This goes, as we move this forward here, Mike, with their offense. I think fans are going to, if they're willing to be patient, and if Hurts gets the offense, you guys are going to be like, I totally see why Jeffrey Lurie, Harry Roseman, and Nick Sirianni want this offense change. But a lot's got to happen.
Well, right. The funny part is this is the kind of offense that A.J. Brown may have excelled in.
No doubt. In fact, that was one of the things we talked about when they traded for him in 22. He excelled at in-breakers. It's called the Bang 8, where it's called Bang Play Action, 3-step drop balls out. Him and Ryan Tannehill really did well together with that. And for whatever reason, Mike, Eagles rarely ran it, which is really embarrassing, quite frankly. Hurts can make that throw. In fact, I saw when he did it, he threw a great throw. He made a great pass. I don't know why they don't do more of it. There
were so many times, Adam, where they ran that little inside slant to AJ, and he would catch it and drag a defender for 2 or 3 extra yards. And then they would go away from it.
And okay, so Mike, on that point, good one. Dontavian Wicks, who's technically taller than AJ Brown. Long, big body. He's maybe about an inch taller. He looks 6'3". He's actually just above 6'1", but he's got long arms, long body. You're going to see that. Devontae Smith made all sorts of catches. Mekhi Lemon, as I suspected, would line up in the slot. He did quite a bit. And the Eagles right now, Mike, before we finish offense, they actually have a true slot receiver in first-round pick, Mekhi Lemon.
All right, Adam Kaplan, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Make sure you check out the podcast on all podcasting platforms. Let's go to the defense. I thought yesterday, Vic Fangio, he mentioned Grenard will probably not be ready for training camp. He also said time will tell whether he'll be ready for the start of the season. I thought that was a little concerning, but he adds to the defensive line that has a lot of talent.
Well, Bernard will not be ready. He's not going to play this year. I mean, we'll see if he's on the roster. They made a decision now because Howie put himself out like that. He said it to the media. Maybe they're just going to redshirt him in terms of, okay, we'll keep him on the roster. He's not. He's Mike. He's essentially their 6th defensive tackle, and he doesn't know how to play football yet. So it's not like he's going to learn in 5 weeks. I mean, come on. Let's. Jordan Mailata, for people comparing, it's completely different. Yes, Jordan Mailata never played American football, but he played rugby. He was a professional rugby player, by the way. There were some similarities, though he still didn't know how to play football. I would grant you that's absolutely true. But this is completely different. This guy, really very little organized sports in his background. He was a personal trainer before the draft. Mike, I was saying to Andrew, he doesn't look 300 pounds because he's chiseled. You could see it. You could see his forearms. But you just don't. They don't make people who look like that at defensive tackle. Usually they're fat and heavy. He's not. He looks about 250, but he's listed at over 300 pounds.
Yeah, he is a guy who reminds you more of like a Myles Garrett in terms of his physique than Jordan Davis over there. But defensive line, ton of talent that we know. What about let's rewind football at 4 to 2021 to 2013 and talk about the depth they have at inside, or forget 2013, 2000, the depth at inside linebacker.
I'll tell you what, and I know they only will play 2. They probably will only keep 4. 5 would be shocking. There's no reason to do that. In fact, there will be some weeks they only dress 3 inside backers. But I got to tell you, Zach Bond still looks great, moves great, and he's going to wear the green dot this season. Jihad Campbell. Now, Jihad Campbell, Andrew and I saw the same thing. He didn't look like, he's supposedly around 240, 245. He looked much smaller than that. And remember, because he was coming back from shoulder issues, we don't know how much he was able to lift, but some will look more into it. Again, they weren't wearing pads, so you got to be careful. But small mountain, good athlete, good length. Trot Jr., a good backup linebacker. Chance Campbell, very athletic, long. Bobby King, their linebackers coach, coached them in Tennessee. That's why he's here. And Deontay Lawson, by the way, had he not suffered the torn ACL, was not drafted out of Alabama. He's also long and athletic, 6'3". The Eagles have gotten really taller in the last couple of years, and we saw this on display. So they're loaded, Mike. You're absolutely right. I've never seen such depth. And what I love about it, it's young, which is a good thing.
All right, Adam, let's go to another spot that it's kind of interesting when you take a look at the overall speed of this defense. When you look from sideline to sideline, is that something that stands out about this team?
Yeah, think about this. Okay, now Jonathan Grenard unfortunately won't be ready to the regular season, coming back from the pectoral strain, but he's got incredible first step quickness. Bond is one of the better athletes at inside backer, which we didn't really know when he came here, but it became one. Jalen Hunt is a superstar athlete. I mean, this guy led them in interceptions, led them in sacks. Former college safety for 2 years, then he played edge for 2 years. This is his 5th year as an edge rusher. Sky's the limit for this guy. He's a big-time athlete. Makuba's an athlete. DeJean Mitchell, particularly DeJean, as you know, Mike. Jonathan Jones was a very good athlete early in his career, but, he turns 33 soon. Michael Carter's got decent athleticism. Monen's a good athlete. And Arnold Abiketti's explosive. This is and obviously Reek Willens is a supreme athlete and got great speed. One little nugget I'll give you. It's kind of funny. If you didn't know better, looking at Keely Ringo, we know he's not in the cornerback rotation, but my goodness, he filled out. His lower body's he used to have pencil legs. He is really filled out. Very, very interesting. He's also tall, Mike. This is the best, really athletic team that I've seen the Eagles have here in a long time.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the safety spot. It's something that Vic Fangio didn't really want to comment on yesterday. So with that, it looks like he has a reason.
So, all right, Carl Wisniewski, he's back from his lower body injury. I'm told that it was lower body. It wasn't related to the injury in college. He worked. Michael Carter, JT Gray, who's only going to really play special teams, but he's technically a safety. Andre Sam, now in his 3rd year off and on with the Eagles. But Mike Makuba, as we talked about when he was drafted, he's a safety in a nickel's body. What's that mean? He's got a very thin frame. Yes, he's put some mass on his body, but that doesn't guarantee you anything. It's a concern. Michael Carter, a former really good nickel who was a safety in college at Duke. He's kind of trying to revolve his career. He's competing against Marcus Epps. Epps clearly on the backside of his career, not a really good athlete, smart player, tough. Mike, this is not the safety. I don't want to say you could hide them, but if you're not great at safety, you could somewhat get away with it. But it is a problem. We'll see if teams can take advantage of it. They have literally the only depth they have is the loser of the Epps-Carter battle will be the 3rd safety. And Wisniewski is super tall. He's a rare tall safety, but he's just not a great athlete. So it is absolutely a problem position. This is one we're going to watch in training camp for sure.
All right, a couple more with Adam Kaplan here. Some observations from the first couple days of training camp. On the defensive side of the ball, we're taking a look at what about the size that they have at the cornerback position when you take a look at bringing in the talent that they did there. One of the big things last year, You were a little small on the opposite side of Kenyon Mitchell, and they seemingly think that they fixed that this year.
Yeah, with Quinyon Mitchell, he's just over 6 feet. He's taller than average for corner, and then you've got Reek Woolen, who's over 6'4", which is unheard of. Fluid athlete. You do worry about the lower body, the strength, and we've talked about the lack of discipline in his game, which is why he had to sign for a 1-year deal. He's going to make $12 million. They guaranteed all of it, so he's certainly going to be on the roster, even if he got benched. But they're counting on him to be a really quality starter, and he's got a lot of motivation. So you've got 2 tall corners. DeJean, when he plays nickel, which I know Vic says is not a corner, but we know he's a good athlete. He's got good size. So yeah, they've got good. And by the way, yes, they're not going to play Coop at the corner of the season, but Vic didn't look. Vic kind of talked about it. They don't want to go there, but and he didn't deny it, if somebody gets hurt or is not playing well, guess who they're going to be calling on? Jonathan Jones or Cooper DeJean. So that it's something to watch in training camp, but their whole thought process is that they're going to be so good. They're going to be good enough a corner that they don't have to play Coop on the outside.
Well, and you talked about Kaylee Ringo. Maybe he can actually add a little depth to that.
Oh boy, right? They don't want to. Yeah, Mike. Look, the ship has sailed. You can't get rid of lower body stiffness. We talked about this when he's drafted. We got bleeped on for our criticism, or it was just really wasn't criticism. We told the truth. He's never going to make it. And we when he started playing early, we took a lot of heat. We let people say what they wanted about us. Fine, whatever. Call us names, curse us out, and the truth will always set you free. We do this for a living. We don't make stuff up, and you can't get rid of that lower body stiffness. So no. But Jacorian Bennett, who got a little bit of first team reps, that was because they were just doing a rotation in Thursday's practice. But the guy was a good quality corner in Maryland. You and I have talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Big injury history, shoulders in particular. Didn't understand the scheme. Now, here's the thing, Mike. He got a full off season. No more excuses. Final year of his rookie deal. A lot of motivation. You like him to be the quality fourth corner. Jones is up first. If he got hurt, you like Bennett to be the next guy up. Now, Mac McWilliams is still there. The coaches didn't have any confidence in him to play him last year when they really could have used him, Mike, as you know. But we'll see what happens with him.
Real quick, last thing. Yesterday, a couple questions about Epinesa. Do you think that he helps this team out at all?
He looks good. He's down in weight. I don't. They list about like 280. He's not even close to 280. I'd be surprised if he's 260, 265. Well, if he makes it, Mike, in nickel, because the Bills did this, he can play inside. He's an okay pass rusher. He was really overdrafted by the Bills because he's known in personnel stoppers as a phenomenal run stopper. But he can rush the passer. He's got great length at 6'6". Yet another tall player, Mike, as you brought him up. We'll see. It's going to be hard, but I'll tell you what. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Byron Young's the first tackle off the bench. That's not up to debate or any question. He's the first guy off the bench. Ty Robinson, we've said it the last couple weeks, Mike. He's not a lock to make it. Probably will. But if he doesn't, you're talking about Epinesa maybe, Gabe Hall, who's flashed last summer. But Ty Robinson's got to get things going here.
All right, Adam Kaplan, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Make sure you download the podcast on all podcasting platforms. We know you guys do out there, and listen for Football at 4. Training camp is here. The first preseason game is 16 days away against the Ravens. Okay, Adam, appreciate it, man. Enjoy the weekend.
You too, thanks.
All right, Adam Kaplan, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Game day hits different at Ocean. Big bets, big screens. You can check it all out at Ocean Casino Resort. And, of course, our 4 o'clock hour of the show. Cheers to 60 years at Maynard's Cafe in Margate. Join the party this Sunday, August the 2nd. Live music starts at 2. Drink specials all day and your chance to win birds and concert tickets. Cheers to 60 years at Maynard's in Margate. All right, coming up, we got the Nuggets today. Earnshaw's in the house. We have the Phillies news. Andrew Painter is going to be pitching for the Phils today. He fills that TBD slot, but we'll do that and more. Plus, we got the Friday 5. Bob Wankel joins me at 5 for a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat. Stick around. More Sports Bash on the way. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. It's time for today's Nuggets. Nicker and Shaw's here with Nick's Nuggets, and, man, we got a lot going on. The weekend is here. The Eagles are back on a Phil's weekend. They're on the slide. They're down in Baltimore. You gave away the trip to Baltimore the other day. Thanks for filling in, you and Pete, over at Ventnor Social. That was a really good time. We got one of our listeners going to the game tonight for the Phillies and the Orioles at Camden Yards. What's going on, Nick?
What's going on, Mr. Mike Gill? Lot to get into still, even with the off day yesterday. Phil's back in Baltimore tonight. It's big news. Painters could be in the mix, so that's very, very interesting. But there's a couple things that I've been reading about. It just where this team is at currently, Mike. And that's where I want to start with nugget number one. And nugget number one is this is according to Phillies Nation. Okay, I'm reading some articles on where the Phillies defense is at and where their WAR's at, wins above replacement. So according to Phillies Nation, the Phillies as currently constructed are a playoff team with arguably the worst position player group in the league. They are 30th in Major League Baseball in baseball reference WAR among position players at 3.7%. If the season ended today, the 2026 team would be the least productive Phillies position player group since 1970, when position players were worth a combined negative 0.8 BWAR. This team defensively and as a whole is one of the worst playoff teams heading into the postseason that we have seen. So if they make the postseason, they are one of the worst position player groups in the history of the game to make the postseason. That's how bad this team is defensively and where they're at the moment.
Yeah, their on-base percentage is the worst in baseball. This isn't a surprise. This is the worst offense in baseball. There are nights where Edmundo Sosa is hitting in the 5-hole. Edmundo Sosa shouldn't be in a lineup for most teams. He's hitting 5th for you. I like Edmundo. He's an energy guy. He's a come off the bench and give you a little spark. He's not protect the number 4-hole hitter. With his numbers, there's no way that anybody, 3 blind mice, couldn't put a lineup together that would end up with Edmundo Sosa batting in the 5-hole. It's just ridiculous that that's where they're at right now. You got Brian De La Cruz, who was a journeyman. You've got Gabriel Rincones, who is, let's be honest, you're 25 years old, you're playing AAA baseball, you're a 4A player. You're probably not really ready to be in the middle of the pennant race. I'm not saying he couldn't be a player, a platoon player somewhere down the line. To stick him in the middle of a playoff run with no big league experience is criminal. Derek Hill, platoon guy, it's just a bad offense. And then, we talked about this yesterday during fastball. Bryson Stott's hitting .313 against lefties. I mean, he just can't hit righties right now, which is pretty unbelievable. Mark can't hit lefties. You know who can't hit lefties either right now? Harper. He's been horrible against lefties this year. So you've got a lineup that is left-handed heavy, can't hit lefties, don't have the right-handed bats to combat the lefties, and it just sets up for a pretty bad offense. Now, as we talked about earlier, Matt Gelb did report that the Phillies, Salisbury reported it, and then Gelb confirmed that the Phillies will recall Andrew Painter to pitch in Baltimore. That shows you how desperate they are. So they need to have Andrew Painter, who probably not really what they want to do. They just don't have another option. When you're a playoff team, your offense is this bad. You just blew 2 games when your offense actually scored. Think about that. They scored runs in the 2 games against the Marlins and lost both of them. The game that they lost 1-0, your offense didn't show up. So now you're going to Andrew Painter, who I would imagine they would probably let stay at AAA. He was supposed to. We actually talked about this yesterday during fastball. It lined up Painter and the TBD, and I said, wouldn't it be criminal if they brought him up to pitch this game tonight because they want him to continue to develop at AAA? They just don't have anybody else. This is an organization that is short on talent, big league talent, minor league talent, that just happens to be really top heavy at a couple spots that is keeping them in this race.
Yeah, no, it's where they're at. I mean, listen, Painter in his last 2 starts in AAA, 1 walk in 11 innings, and more than 70% of his pitches were strikes. That's according to Corey Seidman. Listen, I guess the thought is, all right, he's put up some decent outings over the past couple of starts in AAA. Now we're going to bring him up and kind of keep that confidence going and continue to elevate that confidence because he's been able to command his pitches.
I hope he's right. By the way, I hope that he has gone down there and learned something and can build off of it. I think they're jumping up a little too early with him. I would prefer for him to get probably another 2 to 3, if not more. We talked about this way back when they sent him down, and it was, hey, don't get – like if he has 2 good starts in a row, bring him right back up. We were like, make him prove that he deserves to be back up here. And 2 in a row pitching well doesn't tell me you deserve to be back up.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you there. I just think the Phillies are stuck. They have no other options. And all of a sudden, he's in the mix. And, he's pitching better. So what other option do you have at this point other than Monday's trade deadline? That's the problem.
No, and listen, if he comes up and pitches well, that maybe solves one of your issues that, hey, he's a guy that can give us some serviceable starts. I mean, you got to get to the finish line. You know that 4th guy generally doesn't pitch a whole heck of a lot in the playoffs. But quite frankly, I don't want to see an Aaron Nola game in the playoffs. Do you?
No, not one bit. Don't want to see Aaron Nola in the playoffs at all. Maybe for like an inning if they need a spot, like they're stuck. That's about it. That's the only way you put Aaron Nola out there.
Yeah, and I hate to go into a playoff game using an opener. I can't stand these openers, man. I hate the whole concept because, yes, it could work for the game, but the problem is the after effects of what it does to your bullpen. It just throws everything out of whack where you're using your full bullpen to get through a game. I don't think that that's a recipe for success, saying, hey, we're going to go into a playoff game, and we know when we have Aaron Nola, we just want him to go through the lineup one time and then get him out of there. They did that last year.
Yeah, no, they did. I expect them to make some moves at the deadline. I know the reports are coming out about the Toronto Blue Jays. John Morosi had that report early yesterday talking about their
early this morning when I woke up,
report that.
When I woke up early this morning, Bob Nightingale, the Phillies would prefer to acquire Joe Adell, who has 10 homers against left-handed pitchers, but the Blue Jays package of Jeff Hoffman and Dalton Varsho intrigues him. Why Dalton Varsho, a left-handed bat, another left-handed bat, who, by the way, doesn't hit with a lot of pop, not a big on-base guy. So I don't understand where they think that he fits and adds something to this lineup. Other than the fact that his father played here and he's named after Darren Dalton, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The Jeff Hoffman part of it, am I all that intrigued by Jeff Hoffman coming back? Yeah, they need another bullpen arm. But wasn't the reason you let him go in the first place was he didn't really have a lot of great playoff success?
Yeah, no, Kevin Gausman's the guy for me. If you're traded with the Toronto Blue Jays, Kevin Gausman and possibly an expiring deal in George Springer would be the 2. Dalton Varsho does absolutely nothing for me. He's a left-handed bat, doesn't get on base. I don't want Dalton Varsho. Your outfield already struggles. You already have a lineup that strikes out a lot. You're already left-handed dominant. I don't want him in this mix. I'm sorry. I just don't want Dalton Varsho. He's just not the guy that I'd prefer to have.
No, Varsho doesn't do anything for me. Hoffman does minimal. Joe Adell does a little bit more because he is right-handed. He does have a little right-handed power. I don't think it's a difference-making bat for this offense, so it's just another in the long line of Austin Hayes and Adolis Garcia, guys that are just mid-level and just didn't provide any impact. The Bader deal did give you an impact last year. So now Bader's out for the – you see this whole thing with he was on a scooter.
Mike, when you were out and we did the show at Ventnor Social, that was my first nugget. We did a platter of nuggets, and that was the first one. This is the second time in his career he's had a scooter incident. He had one in college as well.
Yeah, so the fact that they did make the deal for Bader last year, and that one did work out for them. You got to say that did work out for them. Austin Hayes, a myriad of injuries. Garcia's obviously out for the year. Max Kepler, that didn't work. So all these little mid-level outfielding type of guys, they're just another bodies to have here. You might say Joe Adell's an upgrade over Brian De La Cruz. Okay, sure, fine. I'm not going to dispute that. You might say Dalton Varsho's an upgrade over Rincones. I'm not going to dispute that either. But I don't think adding a guy that's going to hit, 6, 7, 8 in your lineup or 7, 8, 9 in your lineup is really doing much for, as you chronicled at the top of this nugget, the worst offense of all the playoff teams in the league.
Yeah, the WAR is just not there. And that factors in the defense too, because defense has struggled mightily. You see where Trey Turner's at, and that leads me to nugget number 2. I want to talk about this Neto kid from Los Angeles. Now, that has been a rumor that Jeff Passan has thrown out there, the shortstop from the Los Angeles Angels. And if you bring in a shortstop here, that means you're shuffling everybody all over the place, right? Like Trey's going to move over here, Stott's here. Where does Bohm go? You trading Bohm. Like that's going to be a lot of shuffling. Is this a team that wants to do a lot of shuffling in the middle of the season when they're trying to make a playoff push? I know they're struggling, but there's been times they're hot and scorching, and we're like, this team can win a World Series. Right now, they're on the other end, the opposite spectrum of this whole thing. They've been playing horrible. So I don't know if that's a trade you do, move and trade to second base. I know he's been so bad at shortstop, but are you ready to start making that switch now to moving everybody around? I feel like that's more of an off-season type of thing.
1,000%. No problem with it at all. Ooh. I'd play him anywhere else but shortstop, and I would do it tonight if I could. This is a big league baseball player. I coach 13-year-old kids, and one day I might say to the kid, hey, you ever play first base? No? Well, you are tonight. And guess what? They get the job done. I think a professional can play another position at any time in any spot if the team needs him to. It is preposterous to even question whether or not Trey Turner could play the outfield because it happens to be July. Oh, he needs a full offseason. No, you're playing left field tonight. That's where it is. Now, you're saying second base. Who cares? He can slide over and play second base. Not a problem for me. He can't be any worse. So what's the difference? He makes an error at second as opposed to short. Who cares? Now at least I have a shortstop that has that has the ability to make a little league play. I currently don't have that. Now, the one thing I would be worried about is I had a tremendous second baseman in Bryson Stott. He makes every play like he should, and he's not paid like Trey Turner. I have to put Trey Turner over there because I can't trust him at that position. So now I got to move the guy who I can trust there to go play a position that he hasn't really played. But let's be honest. You don't have a great shortstop, and you need a great shortstop. You cannot have that guy playing shortstop for you in a big moment in the playoffs. So I have no problem. Do it now before it's too late.
Listen, there's going to be a lot of decisions made. I mean, it can't get worse. I just gave you the first nugget. I just gave you tells you they really can't get worse defensively at the dish at the moment. I mean, they are not a team that is destined to go win a World Series just based on the numbers looking at them. Listen, Neto, you would have him through team control through 2030. That's also a positive, and he's young. He's in his mid to late early 20s. So that is part of this whole equation as well. You get a young player back in him, and he plays a better short than Trey Turner. I think anyone can play a better short than Trey Turner. And does that give you the option to move Trey back to the outfield? We know Bryce brought his glove to Miami, so he's willing to play the outfield. Is Trey willing to bring his glove to Baltimore if need be?
He better, because listen, they definitely didn't upgrade at shortstop defensively. And offensively, by the way, he stinks offensively too. I mean, let's be honest. The ROI for Trey Turner is embarrassing. He should be embarrassed of what he's given this team. However, if I've said yesterday during the fastball segment, whatever position I can find that will make an impactful upgrade, it doesn't matter what position it is. If it's a first baseman, that's where I have to go. And then tell my first baseman, you're moving to the outfield. If it's a shortstop, then that's the guy I have to go get. And then I have to tell my shortstop, you're moving someplace else. If it's a catcher, I have to go get the catcher and tell catcher, sorry, you are now going to be my backup catcher. If it's a left fielder, the guy becomes my left fielder, and you tell Brandon Marsh, you're now going to right field. Gabriel Rincotis, you're out. No matter what position it is, if that's the best player I get, there's not one player on this team that is so anchored to their position that you cannot ask them or tell them they have to move.
Yep, there you go. Well, listen, they got a series against the bad Baltimore team who came back against Detroit the other day in their series finale with the Tigers. You have that 3-game set. Monday, 6 o'clock is the trade deadline. Oh, there could be a lot of moving parts for Dave Dombrowski, or he could do nothing, or he could do absolutely nothing and just, hey,
listen, I know there is a group of people out there that have been saying they want the team to stand pat because they think that they are not good enough. And I can't argue with a lot of those people.
No, because then you could just blow it up in the offseason and trade everybody and do that.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you can do that when you have a Bryce Harper on your team, a Kyle Schwarber, and you've paid these guys money. You can't stand pat because you might have a mutiny. And then, hey, listen, the only thing would be if they did nothing after Harper said we need to do something. That could be the final. Now, what do you make of this Matt Gelb article that basically says that Dombrowski and Harper just don't like each other?
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. When I read it, I was like, this doesn't shock me. He said stuff in the press. Harper said stuff in the press. They haven't been winning. Winning usually cures all. And, yeah, I mean, he's made minor moves that have not worked out around the edges of this team, and they just haven't played well. Now, I'm okay with Harper's comments the other day. I'm cool with him telling you the truth. I want players to do that. However, he's not doing it from a position of strength. That's the only beef I have because he's not been hitting. He's hit like whatever at this point. Like, so if you're batting under 200 and then saying that into the press, that's not coming from a position of strength. If he was batting 275, 300, fine. I'd be cool with it. But right now, over the course of the past few weeks, he has been terrible. So he's not saying it from a position of strength. That was my only beef thing because I'm cool with him saying it.
Right, and Oscar brought up yesterday his numbers against left-handers have been just brutal, specifically in the month of July. And I was looking at his left-handed numbers for the entire season. Forget just the month of July. When you look at his numbers for the season against left-handed pitching this year, I mean, I was shocked when I opened this up yesterday and looked at this. He's hitting 203 against lefties with a 313 on base, a 304 slugging percentage, and a 617 OPS. I mean, those numbers across the board are unplayable. Like, that's a platoon player if I've ever seen one.
Tell you what, it's not elite. It's not elite, that's for sure. All right, before I get out of here, I want to. Yeah, I know. But listen, before I get out of here, I know we're running short on time. I did want to bring up Rich Paul and Max Kellerman. They dropped another episode of their podcast. I never thought I'd have this podcast on my docket as must-see and get a notification every time it drops, but I do. And Rich Paul was talking about Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, how they will benefit the most from this LeBron signing. Do you agree with Rich Paul saying those two guys will benefit more than anyone?
I don't think he's wrong about that. I think the one thing that I'm hoping is that LeBron is at the part of his career at 41 years old where he says to Maxey, if Maxey defers in a game and he says to him, no, little fella, that's your shot. You take that shot. Like, if he can instill that into him. Now, Maxey's had nights where he does take over. Then there's other nights where he defers a lot. So if LeBron can kind of teach him that mentality. Now, the problem with LeBron is he has had that mentality himself when he was in Miami a lot. He had to get over that. But if he could be the one that's telling Maxey to, to kind of play at that level, or take those big shots, that's something that you can definitely prosper from. VJ's an interesting one. I'm wondering where VJ kind of fits in with all this. So I don't know what to think about VJ and how he fits in.
Yeah, VJ, I think, is the wild card out of this whole entire equation. what is his role going to look like? Could he be a guy they move to come off the bench more so at times throughout the season? Now, people have to remember also, these 5 are not going to play the whole year. Let's just be real here. They're not going to play all 82 together. So I think VJ's growth, like people are talking about his growth's going to be stunted. I don't think that's true and it's going to be the case because LeBron's going to miss some nights. He's going to load manage. Joel Embiid, it's always a roller coaster with him. So I don't think VJ's growth is going to be stunted whatsoever here. Now, maybe he takes a step back during the postseason more so because the other guys will be out in front. But no, I don't think VJ's growth will be stunted whatsoever.
I don't know if his growth is stunted. I just wonder how he kind of finds that role, what it is. You know, is he more of a shooter now? Is he going to be a guy that can put the ball on the floor, take the ball to the basket? You know, it's going to be very incumbent on Nick Nurse to figure this all out, and we'll see. And you know, what's Joel? I think Joel's another guy who benefits or could benefit a lot from playing with LeBron. Same thing. It's one of the reasons why I wanted Joel to play on the Olympic team, is to be around these type of guys and try to talk to him and get to him around guys that, you know, are in that mode of championship winning. And it didn't work, right? It didn't work for him being around those guys to get him to have that. So now maybe that he has a guy with him all season long. Two of them.
Yep. We'll find out. We'll see. I literally, I can't wait. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about the Sixers this year. I just can't wait, Mike. There's a 3-pack of Nuggets for you today.
All right, there we go. There's the Nuggets today on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, we'll do them again on Monday when we're back here on the show. All right, Nick, thanks, man.
See ya.
All right, the Nuggets today brought to you by Maynard's and Margate. Cheers to 60 years. Maynard's and Margate is having their big 60-year celebration. Join the party Sunday, August 2nd. That is this Sunday. Live music at 2, drink specials all day, and your chance to win birds and concert tickets. Cheers to 60 years at Maynard's in Margate. All right, we got so much more to come here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. Stick around with us. We got the Phils getting ready for the Orioles tonight. We'll get you in on that one. Plus, it is the Friday 5 on a happy hour Friday. We got a couple happy hour Friday picks for you. And our Friday 5, I think we're on week 10 or 11. We are getting into the double digits of the Friday 5. That's all coming up next hour right here on the Sports Bash.
That'll be 84.52.
Perfect. Grab the bags, honey.
Mom, why do you always check your phone before we pay?
I'm just claiming my cash back on the Upside app. Since we're getting the groceries here and we filled up the car on the way, I've already earned enough this morning to pay for that pizza night we're having Friday.
Wait, so the app pays for pizza?
Not exactly, but the cash I earn on stuff we need helps us pay for the stuff we want. It's just a little win for our family every week.
Get more out of your everyday. Upside is the free app that gets you cash back on routine purchases like gas, groceries, and dining out at more than 100,000 locations nationwide. No points, no rebates, just cash back straight to your wallet. Download the free Upside app and use promo code ACT5 to get a $5 bonus on your first purchase. That's promo code ACT5 to get a $5 bonus. Remember, use promo code ACT5.
Offers vary by user and location at participating merchants. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Fantasy football season is here. Book your fantasy football league draft at Chachi's 13th floor, above Villa Raffici and Absecon. For just $20 per person, your draft package includes great food and cold beer. Chachi's 13th floor, proud partner of 97.3 ESPN and the official sports bar industry Ace Restaurant.
Doug.
Hot dog, get your hot dog.
Customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Hey, what are you doing?
I like your method. Direct, to the point. A little loud, but...
Listen, people don't buy car insurance the same way they do hot dogs.
Not yet, but both are customizable.
Popcorn! Get your popcorn!
Hey, this is a hot dog area.
And customize and save area. Get a quote at libertymutual.com or with your local agent.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Comedian Joey Diaz.
Because you don't need 20 friends. You just need 3 motherfuckers and you can take over a country.
62 and still slinging.
Okay, that's what we're confused as Americans. We think we need all these motherfuckers. You give me 3 bad motherfuckers and you're finished. You understand me? Because we got each other.
Friday and Saturday, August 7th and 8th at Ovation Hall in Ocean Casino Resort.
Get tickets now at theoceanac.com. Don't miss Joey Diaz.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
help a team win from an offensive perspective. But I think it's quite obvious that he is what he is. Like, he's never going to be able to handle lefties with any degree of consistency. And you start to wonder, does even playing every day, and getting those consistent at-bats against lefties have an adverse impact on what he's able to do against right-handed pitching? And so, in the right deal, I wouldn't move Brandon Marsh just to do it. But if you were having a conversation with another team and they really wanted him, I think that's something you'd have to consider.
Ironically, the man that he was traded for was just traded this week. Logan O'Hoppe, sent from the Angels to the Rangers. So maybe the Phillies say, yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. Maybe we move on from that guy as well. Their offense in the outfield is atrocious. What about Crawford? Would you be shocked if he was part of a deal?
I guess I'd be surprised if Crawford was moved, but it does make some sense. I think that there's got to be some teams out there that when you look at his cost, his control, the fact that he's come up here and held his own as a rookie, he's been pretty good lately. Obviously, all the questions remain. Can he stick in center field? I don't think he can long term. I don't think he has the arm to do it. I don't think that he has the natural instincts necessarily to consistently read and go get balls. But I think that he can be a solid corner outfielder. The question is obviously going to be, can he grow and develop some semblance of power? Can he find gaps with some consistency? And that's going to be the next step in his game. And he's so young, and there's a certain pedigree there, obviously, that you have to be somewhat bullish on that. And so if a team said, like, that's a guy that we really want, here's something that can solve your needs in a more immediate fashion, yeah, I mean, maybe something comes together there.
Interesting because Dalton Varsho has been mentioned, a left-handed bat, plays center field. I don't really see the fit for him in Philadelphia. I know Hoffman's name has been mentioned. I know Hoffman would upgrade this bullpen, but haven't you been down that road of the playoff failures that he has had? Do either of those guys sound attractive to this team?
No, I mean, Dalton Varsho's a fine player, but I don't think, to me, that's a move that you make just to sort of change the chemistry, change the look a little bit. But I don't think from a baseball perspective, he comes in here and you say, oh, look out, here come the Phillies. Hoffman's interesting because, like, if you believe in deeper analytics, he's actually thrown the ball very well. Like, his expected ERA is far below its actual ERA. His expected batting average against is far lower than his actual batting average against. My problem with Hoffman is there have been so many failures in big spots over the last number of years, and obviously that happened in 24 with the Phillies against the Mets. But then, just some really high-profile collapses with the Blue Jays, obviously in the playoffs, the World Series. And I think the biggest thing is, yes, he's not going to come here to close, but there's no hiding Jeff Hoffman. Like, he would have to come in here and be the primary setup man. And I just, given the hits that he's taken the past couple of years, I just don't know mentally where he's at. Like, can he handle that right now? And I guess I wouldn't bank on that. I would certainly add him to a mix, but, like, he cannot be the solution. Like, that can't be the next guy out of the bullpen or the first guy out of the bullpen ahead of Duran.
Yeah, I agree that if you bring Hoffman in and you're putting him in a high leverage situation, you're basically setting yourself up for some sort of failure here. I get it. They need a setup man. They need a high leverage arm in the bullpen, setup man, if you want to call him that. You need an outfield bat. I don't know that Dalton Varsho does that much. He plays generally center field. Would you then play Crawford in left field and move Marsh to become the Rincones of right field? That would add a whole nother confusion to what their plan is here. And it doesn't sound like any of it makes you much better.
No, it really doesn't. And it kind of almost makes you wonder, like, are you better off just trying to go out and find a guy who is an absolute killer in the back of the bullpen and go out and find another rotation upgrade and say, look, we are who we are offensively. There's on any given night, we can score 7-8 runs and show up and look good. And any given night, we're gonna go dark and we're not going to score at all. And one fringe platoon bat's not really going to change our identity offensively. So let's just put all of our eggs in the pitching basket and just try to win that way. I think the Phillies have to find difference makers, and however they come, I would love to see them add another outfield bat. I'd love to see a guy that could hit in a cleanup spot and you're not laughing because he has a 652 OPS. I mean, certainly that's what you'd like to see, but I think the Phillies have to go out and prioritize difference makers. And the reality of it is that there just may not be that guy at this trade deadline. Look around, look at the standings. There's like 3 or 4 teams in the American League that are in position to sell right now, and a handful of teams in the National League. There's only 8 or 9 like dead red sellers right now. So,
Absolutely.
we can all sit here and imagine this like Manny Ramirez acquisition, like this bat, right? Like that they desperately need. It doesn't exist, and that's the problem.
It is a problem. They got a lot of problems, Bob. It's a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat. Bob Wankel from the Fighting Words podcast. There's a lot of times a trade is made with a player that you did not hear the whole time, right? The Austin Hayes of the world. They just, add something like that. Joe Adell's name has been brought up. He's another guy. I don't know that he changes the complexion of this offense, but I think it's clear you got to do something with Rincones and Brian De La Cruz as your right fielders. If you're okay with Derek Hill and Crawford kind of being the platoon, you also got to do something with Edmundo Sosa. You can't have him playing left field and batting 5th. I mean, if 3 blind mice made the lineup card, I don't think any of the blind mice would put Edmundo Sosa's name in the 5-hole on days that he played.
It's a shame. Edmundo Sosa's really let this team down this season. Not because not for lack of effort.
He didn't ask for any of this. I mean, he's bailing them out by being a right-handed bat to play the outfield, but you can't keep him out there.
No, he just hasn't swung the bat the way he has in previous seasons. And look, that's the reality of it. What's a shame is the De La Cruz situation. You don't really know what you have there. I mean, you look at him and he's done a nice job in a very short amount of time, but I would have liked to have seen the Phillies bring him up sooner so that they could have had a more extensive look to evaluate, hey, can he help us with some degree of consistency down the stretch here? But instead, you've been messing around doing this Rincones stuff. I mean, he's not. One thing I'll tell you is like he can't be on this roster in August. Like he's not a Major League Baseball player right now. I'm not saying that he'll never get there. I'm not trying to like shuffle dirt on the guy, but for this team where they're at right now, you can't have this guy taking key at bats.
The next time our Mike and Bob baseball chat, will we be talking about something major or just not good enough still?
I think it's going to just be by volume. I think major by volume. I think that they're going to make 3 or 4 separate trades. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd say over-under is probably 4 new players at the deadline. I think that they're going to do some turnover here. But is there going to be any one player that makes you fall off your chair when it gets announced? I doubt it. But again, it just really depends how you want to frame this. If you're in a championship or bust mindset, which I totally understand, I think you're going to be disappointed. If you're in the mindset of, hey, let's get a wild card, let's win 88 to 91 games, and then let's just see what happens when we throw the Wheelers and Sanchez's and Luzardos, then I think you're going to be good to go.
All right, I'll leave you with this. Over the years, the fans loved the managers always at fault. Rob Thompson was the worst. He was terrible. You're starting to hear that about Don Mattingly, believe it or not now. He could walk on water before, and all of a sudden now people believe that he's part of the problem here. What do you make of Mattingly the last couple of weeks?
I think it's hard to evaluate a manager when there's so many roster deficiencies. Now, that being said, I thought on Wednesday he did not have a good moment. Poland goes on to be the guy that gives up the home run and they lose the game. But to me, you're in a situation where you have runners on base, you're protecting a lead, you got to go to your best guy there. And it should have been Bolin in that spot rather than Seth Johnson. I said this earlier on our podcast. We're potty training my son right now. I have a bag of M&Ms in the closet. And whenever he goes, we give him a trying treat, we call it. And so he gets one M&M and he's all excited. The problem with this is that I know where that bag of M&Ms is. And so 3 times an hour, I walk into the kitchen and I'm sticking my hand in that bag and eating the M&Ms. It's like Don Mattingly can't help himself with Seth Johnson. He does the same thing. He knows he's out there and he just can't help himself. He keeps going to him again and again and again when he shouldn't. And, but again, when you look at what he has in that bullpen in the mix, it's hard to kill him at the same time.
Meanwhile, Bob, he gave McFarland no shot. I mean,
the Phillies also gave McFarland no shot, and that makes you wonder if they're just trying to hide him through the trade deadline. They don't want him to come up, struggle, and then say, hey, by the way, we're trying to use this guy as a primary piece in the trade. But yes, look, Don Mattingly, I think has been fine. I don't think he's the reason that the Phillies rebounded. I don't think he's the reason that the Phillies are struggling right now.
All right, Bob Wankel, it is a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat, and that's all we have for today. Phillies taking on the Orioles. Andrew Painter, the 23-year-old, will pitch tonight. His last 11 AAA innings, struck out 14, so he's been a little bit better in those starts. We'll see if he can pull that up to the major league level. Bob, Take care, buddy.
Talk soon, Mike.
All right, so Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget the Phillies lineup. We gave you that earlier in the show. Text your name and where you're from. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. The fantasy football season is here. Book your fantasy football league draft at Chachi's 13th floor above Villa Raffici's in Absecon. They are now open for just $20 per person. Your draft package includes great food, cold beer. Chachi's 13th floor, proud partner of 97.3 ESPN and the official sports bar industry ace restaurant. Yeah, you could do your fantasy football. We're at that time. I've been up in Chachi's 13th floor. It's upstairs. It's private. The whole league will have it to yourself. And for $20, food, drinks, and the whole room to yourself at Chachi's 13th floor. Check that out above Villa Raffici's on the White Horse Bike in Absecon. All right, coming up, it is this week's Friday Five, Week 11 in the NFL. We're going to take a look at the schedule, our 5 favorite games. Plus, I've got a couple happy hour Friday picks that you're not going to want to miss. Stick around. More Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. It is time for the NFL Friday Five. These are my favorite 5 games of the week. Eagles game, of course, back in week 11. When we get to week 11 for the NFL season, we will look back at these picks and see if they are the same 5 games that interest us the most that week. So, Josh, we got a light schedule to pick from this week, but we are in week 11 of the Friday Five. That means we are getting close to the regular season, man.
Hey, listen, I can't wait. I'm getting more juiced up for Eagle season as the day goes on. I see all these people putting out videos and pictures of different training camps, and now I'm ready to go, Mike. Tomorrow is going to be August 1st, so I'm full bore ready.
Are you more excited about the length of time between now and the first kick, or Andrew Painter pitching tonight?
Definitely between now and first kick. Andrew Painter. Andrew Painter is I don't have a lot of confidence in Andrew Painter I'll be pleasantly surprised.
All right, let's get into the Friday Five. We don't pick the Thursday game. That's Indianapolis, Houston. Decent game, but that one is not qualified for the Friday Five because that game would have already happened. It's the Friday Five, so let's take a look. We've got, oh, man, we got some rough ones here. All right, let's start off with, how about Tampa Bay and Detroit? Tampa Bay, probably going to be in play in the division. Detroit, probably going to be in play in the division. This could be for a wild card situation. So I'm going to go Tampa Bay, Detroit as one of my Friday Five. This is a weak schedule here, Josh. Weak schedule.
The Baker Mayfield Revenge Tour is going to be this year. He's going to be playing for a contract this offseason, so he's going to want to show out every single week. And why not show out against a team that's paying their quarterback $50 million?
How about it? By week 11, we'll know whether or not he's earning that contract or not. How about Baltimore and Carolina? I know it doesn't sound great on paper. Carolina, did end up winning that division last year. Baltimore, if Carolina is in play, them and Tampa could be neck and neck again, and Atlanta in that division. This could be a big game in the NFC South, and then Baltimore, we all expect, will be involved in the NFC North. So doesn't sound like a great game, but of this week's schedule, that's on the list.
Well, listen, if the team's off seasons add up to the regular season, this might actually be a low scoring game because both teams overhauled their defensive personnel.
Up next, it's a Sunday night football game, Minnesota and San Francisco. Now, San Francisco signed Deebo Samuel. They add him back to the mix, the whole weird Shanahan accident situation out there. So some weird vibes to start for them. Minnesota announced that they are going to have a full-blown quarterback competition. Do we believe them on that one?
I only believe them because of the way the coach verbalized. I don't know if you saw the press conference where Kevin O'Connell said that he doesn't want to give one quarterback too many running plays and not the other quarterback all the passing plays. So it sounds like it's a formality at this point.
Well, it's Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy that are battling there. Most people assumed it will be Murray that wins that job. That game, by the way, is in Mexico City. It's a Sunday night game, and that one is in the Friday Five. The Monday night game is Cincinnati and Washington. Now, the question is, do we think Washington by week 11 is still in play here? Because if they are in play, this game is probably in the Friday Five. So I think Washington might be hanging around maybe in the wild card run here. Obviously, the quarterback's health is big, very imperative there for the Commanders. And the Cincinnati, same thing. If they can stay healthy, this game could have some playoff implications. So number 4 this week in the Friday Five, we're going to go with Cincinnati and Washington.
Like you said, if the quarterbacks are healthy, Joe Burrow versus Jaden Daniels, that could be fireworks.
Yeah, absolutely. Jaden Daniels needs to stay healthy, though. That's the big problem for them. And then, man, the 5th game is rough here. How about, I'm going to go Jacksonville and the Giants. Same type of situation. Are the Giants still in play for a wild card? Are they having a surprise season? Maybe entering week 11, they're like 4-6 or 5-5. And if they win this game, they stay in the wild card mix. Jacksonville won 13 games last year. They could use this for like seeding purposes. So in a bad week of games, I'm going to go Jacksonville, New York. I don't think there's really maybe there's one other game. I'm assuming there's one game that you think that I picked. So there's my 5 for week 11 here. Is there a game that I didn't pick in my 5 that you would have put in yours?
So I think to me, it's a coin flip between Jags, Giants, which you mentioned, versus Saints, Bears. Bears are a team that had a great year last year. Saints are a team that a lot of people are picking as a worst to first contender. So it'll be interesting if by this point, this is going to be, I believe, November 22nd is when week 11 is. Are the Saints going to be a wild card contender or not?
Yeah, that was the one that I figured that you would say, and I saw that one too, was the one that I was like, if the Saints, last year they finished in last place, but a lot of people think they're a team that could make that jump. So I would think that one would be on the list possibly as the next one up, because the rest of the games, let's take a look at the rest of the schedule. We told you Thursday's Indy and Houston. That game probably would be in the 5 if it was on, the weekend. Miami and Buffalo. Meh. Buffalo's an 11.5-point favorite in that game, by the way.
I'm surprised not more.
Tennessee and Dallas. That sounds like an awful game. 6.5 Dallas.
Let me ask you a question really quick. And maybe I'm misreading this, but I'm seeing a lot of people online talking about the Titans as like a bounce back team with the new coaching staff. I just don't see it in terms of the roster. Like, I understand in terms of the coaching staff, but like, is there anything with the Titans roster that makes you say, hey, they're a worst to first contender?
Not really. No, I agree. I do see a lot of people liking the Titans to make that jump, but I don't see it right now. I don't know. The quarterback last year didn't overly impress me, right? As the number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward. I don't think I was like, man, they really got something here. Because they did go out and get him some veteran weapons last year, and that didn't seem to work.
Yeah, and I understand you might argue that might be because of who the coaches was, and the coaches did a bad job with the offense. But to me, I'm actually more looking at the defense and the quarterback. You brought in a defensive-minded coach, and realistically, there's only 2 good defensive players on the entire team. Like, I don't understand how you hire Robert Saleh, and then you have a defense that outside of Jeffrey Simmons and one other guy, it's meh.
Yep, not a big Tennessee. I'm not on that same wagon as everybody. Arizona, Kansas City. Kansas City's 11.5-point favorite there.
Understandable.
Jets, Chargers. The Chargers are a 9.5-point favorite in that game. Vegas and Denver. Denver's a touchdown favorite in that game. And the only other game on the schedule that we didn't look at is Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, which, by the way, Philly is a 5.5-point favorite. That is week 11 in the Friday 5, the 5 best games that we're paying attention to outside of the Eagles game. Now, when we get to week 11 in the NFL, we will take a look back at these games, and that is November 18th through the 24th. So you're going to be getting ready for your turkey dinner when we talk about these games again. The next week will be Thanksgiving week. Those are the 5 games we like this week. And, of course, you play along on the Friday 5 every single week here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Next week, we will have, again, week number 12, which is the Thanksgiving week. So we'll have a game on Wednesday, 3 on Thursday, and 1 on Black Friday next week. So we're going to have 5 games outside of the Sunday slate. Now, I guess the Friday 5, that Friday game next week, but boy, taking 5 games off the weekend is going to be really tough to put together a Friday 5, but we look forward to that each and every week here to get a little chance in the summertime to talk a little bit about football here on the Sports Bash. Now, Eagles training camp going on. We had Adam Kaplan on earlier for football at 4, and of course, when we talked about him, we asked him about what stood out and looked different during the first 2 camp practices. And he talks about a lot more quarterback under center, the timing of the passing game, more pre-snap motion, a lot of the size that this team is added. And then on the defensive side of the ball, one of the things that Adam pointed out is the defensive line, the talent there, the depth at linebacker position. We saw Jeremiah Trotter getting some first-team reps the other day. just the overall speed of the Eagles defense. And then one thing that Adam pointed out is the lack of quality at the safety position. And that's the one position that Vic Fangio kind of, pleaded the fifth on, if you will, didn't want to really talk about.
He started the question. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't want to mention anything about a safety because he was asked if Marcus Epps was the guy that was going to be kind of playing a lot of safeties. He said, we don't really want to divulge our hand on that one. But that was during football at 4 today, so you can go back and check that out, as always, here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. So that's our Friday 5 this week. One more time. Detroit, Baltimore, Carolina, Minnesota, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Washington, Jacksonville, and the Giants. They are our 5 games for this week's Friday 5. All right, we got